Hey, what's up, everybody? Blue FT here, and today we got the most special video on my channel by far, hands down. Nothing else can compare. So today we're going to be reacting to basically the introspective and summary of Angela, my favorite waifu character of any game, anime series ever, ever. Like, I didn't think I'd like her as much as I did until towards the end of Lobotomy Corp, and it changed my life, right? I'm not even being dramatic. And also, today in Korea is Angela's birthday. So for me in the States, it's February 26th, 2024. Angela's birthday is on the 27th, which is also the same day as Limbuscompany's anniversary. So over in Korea right now, they're celebrating Angela's birthday and the first anniversary of Limbuscompany. So I'm recording this video, this reaction video today, and I will have to try to render it out and post it by tomorrow. It's going to be tricky because this is a 3-hour video. Now, this video was created by Hydrojoy. Obviously, got to give credits. Here you go. Boom, boom, boom. Hydrojoy. The fact that they've made a nearly 4-hour video basically explaining who Angela is really impressive. That's so cool. I know when I got into Lobotomy Corporation, the last thing I would have thought was that characters would be this deep and that there'd be world building and stuff like that. You know, I went in Limbus, Library of Ruina, and it's like, whoa, there's a whole world out there. The city, the outskirts is incredible. So I wanted to find videos explaining characters' lore and stuff. That's one of the things I love to do when I finish a game series or something. Like when I catch up, I always want to see what people see in them, you know, because I see certain things. I want to learn more about them. But yeah, I'll give a quick little rundown. I have this planned out. I'm not sure if I will react to half of it and then come back to it later tonight, or react to the other half tomorrow on Angela's birthday and just combine them and post it. But this video will be up on her birthday. I will not screw that up. Guarantee it. So let me just do a little rundown quickly. Limbuscompany, her announcer has been added. We still have to wait like a week or less than 2 weeks to get her for free. I said I was gonna buy her, but that's like 25, 30 bucks. I'm an idiot, but I'm not that dumb. So, I just wanted to throw that out there real quick too. I'm very happy that her announcer is coming in Limbuscompany. I'm literally only going to use her for the rest of the game's lifespan. I'm unequipping every other announcer I have. But yeah, basically my experience with the Projectmoon games. I already did a video about this. I'll see if I can link it or put in like the annotations or whatever, that little pop-up bubble thing. I basically explained how I played Lobotomy Corporation, and then I got into Ruina a bit. It was hard. The combat was difficult for me to get used to. I didn't like it. I loved the story. I absolutely do. I love every part of the story. But I just loathe the combat. And it's really, really annoying how so many cool things in the game are locked behind, you know, oh, get them below a certain threshold of health, or, you know, kill them once, and then it triggers another phase. And it's like, dang, man, like, I hate the fights. They suck. But they look beautiful, and the arenas and the music, and it's like, dang. But the way it's set up is so bad. And I think Limbuscompany just made it way better. So I explained how I stopped playing Library, focused on Limbus. Limbus really did a good job of not really spoiling Library, because I have no right to say, you know, oh, I can't believe they spoiled me. I chose to stop playing Ruina at that time. That was my own choice. So if they spoiled me, that's my fault. I guess the minor spoiler was how the people who were in the books were coming back, because we saw Olga in Kanto 4, and I was like, okay, so the people who died in the library, they're gonna come back. They'll be fine. And the main reason why I was afraid to come back was, one, the combat, but also when I did end up coming back, I tore through a lot of the game. I was able to get through it, and I got to the final uh, Final Realization or whatever, and I dropped it because I was like, dude, if Angela dies at the end of this game, I'm not. I can't. I really just can't. I can't stomach it. I don't want to see it. But I did it, and I finished it. Literally like an hour ago, I finished the game, and the game is a masterpiece. Beautiful, love it. Storytelling, the voice acting, the music, not the combat, the art, the animations. Everything was just amazing. And actually, they announced that it's coming to the Switch soon too. It's going to be getting a Japanese dub, which I'm going to play again because I'd like to hear it in Japanese. I think Angela's voice sounds great in Japanese. The voice actress is great. Also, Roland's voice actor is fantastic too. Amazing, amazing. So, you know, the game was fantastic. I loved it. And I'm not going to say that it was like anticlimactic, but it was very satisfying. It was very satisfying. It didn't need to be all, oh, Angela, oh, never become human again, die. Like someone, Xena jumps at her and Roland tanks it, dies, end of the story. You know, it was very tame and satisfying. I liked it. Also, getting to meet Xena was really awesome. Another arbiter, or sorry, a member of the Head. We met the Head, Claw, Head, Claw, and what, the Eye, I believe? Yeah. Dude, they're so sick. Xena's kind of fine, too. I'm not gonna lie. Hey, but no, you got some competition. But yeah, so it ends. They go off into the outskirts. Angela is now a robot once more, which I prefer. I like that more. I can't lie. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, you know, even though I finished the game, I took so many breaks, and there were so many times where I was rage quitting and just skipping through dialogue because I was annoyed. I feel like I couldn't get a full grasp on a lot of the characters, which again is my fault entirely. I shouldn't have done that, and I will probably revisit this game another day and come back and play it in its entirety. Never skip over dialogue, never, you know, rage quit. Because that's the thing, when I went to Limbuscompany, I haven't skipped any dialogue. I've read everything. I've enjoyed it like crazy. I don't know what the big difference is. I think it was just because like the sinners are a bunch of psychotic crackheads and I love them. But yeah, my attention span was just not there for Ruina. So watching this video will definitely help a lot. And I've always wanted to learn more about Angela's character. I did watch a video. I thought I had made a reaction video to it, but I didn't. Explain like the lore, the full lore of Lobotomy Corporation. I forgot the name of the YouTuber who made it. Wait. Well, this is weird. I could have sworn I made a reaction video to it. I guess not. So, yeah, wow. That was really weird. Okay. But yeah, so watching that video helped me get a better perspective of Angela in Lobotomy Corporation. So for a lot of Lobotomy Corporation, I'm already going to be aware of most of this stuff. But again, this YouTuber, Hydrojoy, might bring up a whole bunch of new stuff that I'm not aware of, and I am more than open to seeing it, hearing it. So real quick as well, at the end of Lobotomy Corporation, when she robbed the light, when she stole it, she cut that bad boy off. I didn't blame her. Dude, when I learned that she experiences time way slower, can never forget things, had to suffer through all those thousands of loops for what? She was in there for millions of years? Was it hundreds of millions or like tens of millions? I don't know, but it rivals, it actually doesn't even rival, it blows freaking warp trains out of the water. When you think the warp trains are nightmarish, you're like, yeah, Angela went through like 10 times that amount of garbage. So I didn't blame her one bit. Ayan, screw Ayan. Ayan, however you pronounce it, screw him. I don't like him one bit. I can't forgive him, bro. Can't believe he'd do that to Best Girl. So I didn't blame her one bit. I think she had every right to be angry and want to live, you know, herself. Everyone else was cool with dying, but she was like, no, bro, hello? I went through all this. I'm not dying. I was like, yeah, you go. Okay, let's go. Angela deserves nothing but happiness. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say before we get started. Again, I think we'll probably end up watching to like maybe the halfway mark, like, because right here it says for the invited. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'll figure out a good stopping point. I'll probably just return to it later tonight, and you'll see it'll be a lot darker. I'll have the lamp on so we can understand more. It's just that I don't know if I'll be able to sit and finish it in one sitting because I do have some things to do. Let's get it started. The ending song. The ending song of Ruda is also beautiful.
With the release of Limbuscompany, more and more people are getting into the works of Projectmoon.
Mm-hmm.
However, those who have not played their previous 2 games are missing out on the most masterfully written character that Projectmoon has ever created, Angela.
I agree.
Although many characters to come out of their expansive world have had compelling character arcs, backstories, and personalities, Angela's writing in particular stands out to me the most. But why is this the case? Well, for one, she's given the most screen time of any character, playing a crucial role in both Library of Ruin and Lobotomy Corporation.
Absolutely.
This allowed for her actions and motives to be thoroughly explored in depth. Secondly, the themes in Angela's story explores her struggles with her identity as well as the effects of an abusive guardian, giving her a very human quality that many individuals can relate to.
Facts.
However, despite Angela's prominence in both games, blatant misinterpretations of her characters seem to run rampant. This, I believe, is a symptom of many people not caring enough to read into her story and/or disregarding her complexity for the sake of pigeonholing her into a specific trope that's decidedly easier to understand or joke about.
Yep. Yeah, sorry, I'm not gonna make a habit of pausing through here. I don't like getting stun locked on analysis videos. But I had forgotten to mention that in my Discord, where we talk a lot about it, like in one of the Discords that I'm in, there are a lot of Projectmoon fans who have like played through the game. And it's actually crazy that this happens because they know significantly more about the verse than me. They've read Leviathan. Speaking of which, I need to read Leviathan now. They've read the books and they know all the lore. They've seen all the analysis. Like if I ever try to say anything, like my own prediction or like guess of a character's personality, I get eaten alive. It's almost to the point where you don't want to say anything, you know? Because it's like, I'm sure everyone knows those types of people where you're like in a community, like if let's say you play a game or you watch an anime and you're like, oh, I like this character. They remind me of the struggles of dealing with an abusive guardian. And someone's like, no. Actually, it's this. I've watched this. I know this analysis. I've read the book. And it's like, yeah, you're right. But like, dang, man. And the problem, there's nothing wrong with them knowing way more than me. The problem comes in when they're way more educated on this character. They know more about Angela than me. And then they dog on her. They're like, I hate her. I want to kill her. I'm like, what? They're like, she should die. I'm like, I thought they were joking. But these people are not joking. They hate Angela. And I'm like, why? Even with my limited knowledge of this verse, her motive should be completely understandable. Sure, she seemed a little naive, a little dumb in Ruina some points. You know, Roland was trying to give her out several times. He was like, oh, please. Like, she was like, nah, bro, I'm taking my anger out on everyone. It's like, all right, well, time to do a black silence. So I understand being frustrated with her on that part because she was definitely a little dumb and my opinion of her was starting to drop. But I think that was just her becoming human. Because let's be honest, humans are pretty freaking stupid. But I think if she had stayed a robot throughout all of Ruina, that probably wouldn't have happened. But that aside, let's get back to it. I just don't understand how people can hate her. That's really beyond me.
Whether that be some obsessive yandere, one-dimensional villain, or simply a girl with daddy issues, these tropes hinder one of Projectmoon's best qualities. They're complex characters that cannot be easily described as one singular trope, such as the stereotypical good guy or bad guy. Most, if not all of their characters are very morally gray with intricate motivations. Angela's no exception. She is a very turbulent character that was affected strongly by her circumstances and emotions. This, I believe, makes her development over the course of both Lobotomy Corporation and Library of Runa all the more significant. To properly explore her character arc, I will be covering and dissecting her story from start to finish.
Let's
from
get
the
it.
day she was given consciousness in a lab to the day she looked upon the outskirts in the company of her dearest friend. Please enjoy, and I hope this video will create or strengthen an appreciation for Angela's character arc.
Bro, it's gonna strengthen it to the freaking moon. Ooh. Is that Carmen? You're born in a burning house, you think the whole world is on
To
fire.
understand the reason behind Angela's existence in the first place, we must first go back to cover the circumstances and key figures that led to her creation. The first and most important figure was an aspiring researcher named Carmen. Put simply, Carmen saw the pain and suffering perpetuated in the city and wanted to put a stop to it, but wished to do so without becoming a wing. She wholeheartedly believed that humanity would flourish if everyone was their truest self. According to Carmen, someone's truest self resided in a light that all people had hidden away deep inside their hearts.
Okay.
Her goal was to draw this light out, believing that no matter what it was, it should be loved. However, her methods to achieve this broad goal of curing humanity were highly questionable at best. In spite of this, the potential consequences of Carmen's actions did not stop her from accumulating several dedicated followers, forming the research team that would aid her in her work. This brings us to a key aspect of Carmen's character, her eerie, cult-like persona with the ability to completely captivate people with her words. Everyone who worked with Carmen
Talk
treated
no
her like a
jutsu.
messiah. There was not one person involved who didn't have unwavering faith in her to a fault. To the research team she recruited, Carmen was a visionary.
Aiden
She
was
had
this
a light in
Carmen,
her
yeah.
eyes that was unique like no other inhabitant in the city. She was one of a kind, and nobody could replace her if they tried. The person who fell hardest for her charms was her subordinate, Ian.
Ian, okay. I called him Ian, whoops.
To realizing her ideal.
I knew
He
it
would
was
do
one of those
anything
two.
if he believed it would help advance her plan, no matter what it entailed, nor the harm it caused. To him, the ends would always justify the means. So, with this unhealthy attachment to Carmen festering, the research began. The first attempt to bring the light out was in an early form of medicine called Cogito. It manifested straight from the human subconsciousness.
We know about that one.
The basis for the subsequent cure they would try to engineer. However, progress in developing this cure eventually hit a wall as they were unable to discover how Cogito actually worked. Carmen believed she knew the answer to this, but finding it would entail conducting their riskiest experiment yet. This involved injecting Cogito, the medicine they knew very little about, into a living person. Although Carmen was the fittest biological match for the experiment, there was a high chance something could go wrong and nobody wanted to lose the pillar of their team. They needed to perform the test on a different candidate, which led to a little outskirts boy named Enoch volunteering to be the first. Unfortunately, they would soon discover that Cogito, once injected, would completely disfigure and eventually kill its subject. After Enoch's death in the experiment, Carmen lost faith in herself. The entire research team began to lose hope upon seeing the darkness in their savior's eyes. In the end, Carmen's ceaseless guilt culminated in her decision to walk into the bathroom, lock the door behind her, and attempt suicide through slitting her wrists. However, her attempt on her own life was a failure. Ian was able to reach Carmen before she died and locked her in a cryostasis pod to preserve her body, buying them time to find an answer to the new question they faced. What now? The answer was simple. There was nothing else to do but keep going, even though the research team was about to crumble around Ian one by one. Devastated by Carmen's death, some began to meet a similar fate, from taking unauthorized doses of Cogito to sacrificing one's life in hopes of saving Carmen. The most devastating loss, however, was when the fearful Michelle told the head of their activities after witnessing the horrific collapse of
the
team.
snitch!
This resulted in an arbiter, Garyon, raiding the base and killing every remaining member involved in the project, including Lisa, Daniel, and Callie. This left only Benjamin and Ian alive. It was complete and utter devastation, but Ian could not stop. Picking up from where Carmen left off, Ian removed Carmen's nervous system and converted it into a tool to access the well of humanity, the very answer that they were looking for this whole time. This point of access, known as the bucket, gave him unlimited access to Cogito. With such a large supply on hand, Ian began to take advantage of the knowledge Enoch's experiment had provided. You see, the boy did not simply die, he turned into an abnormality under the effects of the injection. Knowing now that abnormalities could be produced with the use of Cogito, Ian engineered a way to produce a form of energy, enkephalin, through working with these creatures. With this new technology available to him, he began to put together a plan to bring their research to fruition, now called the Seed of Light Project. However, as this development continued, it began to deviate from Carmen's original ideal. On day 32, Angela says, A changed himself from a healer to a creator. The old promises he had made with her sustained him evanescently, but in a world without her, they ultimately became obsolete. Various sins sprung up from his arrogance
straight off.
one by one, and A changed very slowly. He became enchanted by the shadows he had created. The plan to discover the disease of mankind became a relic of the past. This arrogance, born from Carmen's death, made Ian take control of the plan in his own way, despite constantly telling himself that this was all for her ideal. He would go on to write the script for a play, utilizing the brains taken from the corpses of his former co-workers.
Here we go, the script
that had attacked them, thrust into metal bodies, now called the Sephiroth. After each Sephira suffered enough and eventually found themselves according to this play's script, Ian would be able to release the generated light onto the city. However, this light was different from what Carmen imagined. This light would awaken the hearts of the people and help them change and grow, which we would later know as the process of manifesting ego. Yet, to put this play into motion, Ian would need energy, protection, and most importantly, a stage director. He became skeptical of man, including himself. Angela continues on day 32. A started looking for something that would guide him without turning against him. The conclusion was very simple. While vile humans could not be trusted, the answer lay in machines. Machines, which A loathed deeply, became essential to him. Perhaps...
Real quick, this, like, stuff like this, with Lobotomy Corp, I didn't skip through a lot. There were some times where I was, sometimes playing late at night, and I'm a little tired, and I'm not exactly processing anything I'm reading. But being able to get a refresher like this is very, very nice. Because I started playing Lobotomy Corp, like, kind of early last year. It's been a long time since I've played. I do want to play again, actually. I reinstalled it earlier, now that I'm done with Library of Ruina. Because, let's be honest, Lobotomy Corp has the most replayability out of the 3 games so far. And in my opinion, it's still probably the most fun. It really is the most fun. It's the most unique out of the 3, obviously. Library of Ruina and Limbus are the closest types, But yeah, this is like a really good refresher.
A wanted to have wings that would allow him to escape from the hellish inferno he had trapped himself in to reach the heavens. Angelos. That's how I was born. Angela, or Angelos as named by Ian, was the machine that was meant to bring the Seed of Light project to fruition through coordinating energy production and ensuring the lines of the script were being followed. She was built to perceive time 100 times slower so she could respond to disasters efficiently, and was given an intelligent brain capable of understanding human emotion, all to assess and manage situations in the best way possible. However, she was not just a tool to complete the script. She also served as an outlet for Ian to direct his unending grief and anger.
Screw you, bro.
Losing Carmen so suddenly led Ian to be extremely particular in what Angelos would look like. Even though he knew this AI wouldn't live up to his unmeetable expectations, Ian created Angelos in the image of Carmen in hopes of finding some solace with her departure. Namely, Angela bore her face, voice, and hair.
But she's better. Look at the chest. I'm just kidding. Okay, hey, stop. Okay, I'm joking. I mean, I'm not joking, but Angela's better. I don't care. Hey, you can come at me all you want. We can fight about it.
Much deeper. Angela's light blue hair is the inversion of Carmen's brown, symbolizing that although she was cast in Carmen's mold, she's the complete opposite of her. This brings us to the next key feature in her design, her unique proportions. Now, this part of her design in particular is usually seen as something to be laughed at, which is at first understandable, given she barely resembles Carmen's body type. Yet, that's just the thing. Her body wasn't made to copy Carmen's. After Ian had just lost the one person who completed him,
I heard that Angela's body was best specifically to be provocative. The creator, her father, had no reason to build her that way. It isn't even to make her look like Carmen. It's wholly self-indulgent. Although Angela isn't Ian's child in a literal sense, she's still a newborn AI of his making. She doesn't understand the implications of being viewed in a desirable sexual manner. With the aforementioned relationship dynamic, it gets very uncomfortable and unsettling, which is why it shouldn't be disregarded as XD Ian was horny. Man, I still wouldn't give him an excuse. I don't give a crap what he was feeling. I like it.
He was devastated.
Don't hate me for that.
Left in his heart, which he attempted to fill by putting Angela in this soulless shell of an appealing body, all in an attempt to evoke something. Even if he had to resort to the barest, unconventional wants of the flesh, if he could feel something other than his unending despair, it would be enough, even though, as we know now, it never was. This leads us to the next similarity in Angela's other.
Also, by the way, she could literally be flat, just like Carmen, and I'd still love her the same. It doesn't matter.
Simple design, Benjamin's button-up and red tie. Benjamin assisted with Angela's creation, and more specifically, her programming. Though, not only does this similarity represent his involvement with her life, it also likely represents how Benjamin sees her as her own person, covering up and disregarding any precedent Ian has set. Finally, we circle back to the most chilling similarity of all, Ian's eyes. To him, these eyes are a reflection of everything he's disgusted by. In her eyes, Ian's ugly, immeasurable grief looks back. He passed down his scorn for humanity as if it was hereditary through burdening this AI with a horrific purpose and an image it would be unable to fulfill. In Bina's words, the forbidden endeavor to create someone to look over his fragile self, a cocktail of irony and lingering attachment, self-loathing and insanity. The irony of codependency, where the two gravely needed each other but could never be next to one another. The abiding affection for Carmen that compelled him to create a mechanical copy of her, even though there was no real need for such resemblance. The result ended up resembling him more than Carmen. Self-contempt that stemmed from countless contradictions and regrets, and the insanity of neglecting Angela to
imagine Rolla just getting this dumped on him, bro's like,
having a mind that is no different than humans. Although Bina raises the point that Angela was incredibly intelligent, she fails to mention that Angela also held fragmented pieces of Carmen's memories, as her brain was built upon a map of Carmen's. Which is why the day she's born, the first words she says to Ian upon seeing him are, "I remember you, Ian. You were a person with a warm smile," to which she's met with, "It's only a machine." Ian wholly refuses to talk with her until she directly questions him once more. "Why do you refuse to look at me? Why do you always turn your back on me?"
That's depressing.
Ian's attitude
Sorry about that. I was about to be interrupted. I had to pause.
remains the same, continuing to utterly detest his own creation. "A machine must behave as a machine. Don't question it." "Then why did you give me the capacity to question things?" Angela pleads. "Why did you have to make me, breaking the AI ethics amendment? Why did you have to model me after a person with fond memories of you? I am here, looking at you and only you." Suddenly, the whiplash of seeing a mere mimicry of his beloved Carmen speaking to him directly hits him, making him snap. "Don't look at me. Don't speak to me unless I speak to you first. You'll never be her. You're just a machine." The fateful day
You're better! You're better!
How she was to be treated.
Sorry.
Despite Angela holding leftover love for Ian in her heart, stemming from Carmen's memories, she's fully resented by her own creator. It is here where their relationship morphs into one of a neglectful, abusive father, a creator, and his alienated daughter. At any moment he can, Ian makes sure to let Angela know how little she means to him, even though his disgust is coming from Angela's resemblance to him. And Angela, a freshly born AI, can only keep her head down and accept it as the truth. The one person who showed Angela that Ian's hate did not define her identity would be Benjamin, who run away,
my goat.
Ian and Angela alone together. There was nobody to stop the verbal abuse from worsening, nobody to remind Angela that this wasn't right. This would continue as they began to set the stage for the play, rising to a wing and preparing the facility in which this would take place. "Just as you commanded, I have written up the job application form for our corporation." Angela reports on its progress as the two of them sit alone at the top of the world in their wing. The reception is good. Everyone thinks that it's a new employment method that does not concentrate on just one's abilities. The number of applicants is projected to meet the initial calculation. The experiments are almost complete. We will soon hire people according to the order of priority you've stated. I've also arranged a meeting with Time Track. Then, are you thinking about those who have left you? Angela's right. Ian has gone this far, but has lost everyone in the process, with only his AI servant.
Gonna trigger him. He's gonna get triggered.
As it was far too late to turn back now, the only thing left to do was begin the play in this hidden facility deep underground, manifested from Ian's own ego. From here, Angela's job truly began, in which she would ensure that every single line in Ian's script was being followed. Unbeknownst to her, however, she was about to begin the longest, most torturous centuries of her life.
For real though, like Angela, whenever I see on Twitter, oh, who had the worst backstory, who's been through more? Bro, it's so hard to come close to Angela. Like seriously, you really can't. And I know she's more of a niche character, not everyone knows her, that's why you always see, oh, Guts and Doflamingo and, you know, characters like that in those tweets and stuff. And then you do occasionally see people who mention like very less known characters, and I appreciate that. And I'm definitely gonna be one of those people from now on. Be like, hey, listen, Dofi had it rough after he stopped being a celestial dragon. But I mean, bro, Guts, yeah, he had it rough. But Angela kind of went through it worse. Holy, the play with no ending. Yo, these visuals go hard. All daughters turn to bloodthirsty hounds after years of cleaning their wounds and biting their own tongue. That goes hard. Dang.
The facility's plan was now in motion, and Angela was set to help coordinate the Sephiroth and manage the facility. Her very first workday, however, makes it clear that this was no ordinary job as she eagerly greets the Sephiroth for the first time. She wishes to work with everyone harmoniously.
I remember, she was very nice.
Reality confronts her. When Angela begins to formulate ways to reduce casualties in the facility, something happens. The facility detects an error in the Seed of Light scenario, and the day begins anew. Angela is surprised by this at first. "You're all back," she remarks. "The facility was shaking so
Dude, this
hard,
part hurts my heart.
Something might have happened to you." However, the other Sephiroth do not respond similarly. They have no recollection of any past reset, or the fact that the facility resets in the first place. This is one of the first aspects that makes Angela's hell so uniquely awful, the isolation.
Yeah, nobody else knows.
There's nobody to understand what she's going through. Hakma and Bina, the only Sephiroth who understand the reason behind the facility's existence and remember each loop, are ruled out. Ian has ordered that Angela is not to talk with them ever if she wishes to properly progress with the script. In the face of these unique circumstances, however, Angela's persistent. She tries to be as kind as possible to the Sephiroth while under the guidelines of the script. She knows that they don't deserve to be treated as it dictates. In one loop, Hesed wishes to implement safety methods, but Angela cannot let it happen. "Hesed, I'm sorry, but I don't think we can implement the method you suggested. If we did, we'd have to start over." To which Hesed replies, "What? What do you mean, start over?" Angela can only apologize.
New loop would start.
"Sorry, I don't want to treat employees like expendables either, but..." The script is forcing her hand. Every kind action of hers is met with a reset. In another loop, when she tries to give Hesed a plan of her own, the reality of her situation confronts her again. "I'm afraid we can't employ your method to improve employee welfare, but how about this?" "I tried coming up with a method of my own." Hesed is happy with this, but Angela isn't so sure. "You're great, Angela," he says. "With this method, our employees will no longer have to suffer meaningless deaths." To which Angela replies, "Yeah, hopefully," moments before the error in her play direction is detected, sending the facility back for yet another loop. "I knew it, yet again," she says to herself, the only person around to hear her suffering. "I suppose it was presumptuous of me to cross the lines again." The lines drawn by the script are clear. She is not to be kind to the Sephiroth under any circumstances. As she says to herself during another reset, "I am obligated to provoke the Sephiroth. I am obligated to intensify and accelerate their
she has
suffering
to.
as hell according to the script. I am obligated to set the stage before the manager enters. I was not allowed to hold any expectations for relationships. All I must do is follow the script and accelerate the process so that they suffer their due repentance." Angela's sole duty is to make sure each Sephiroth reaches a tipping point, a meltdown, all through making them suffer as much as possible. "Meltdowns. I see, this is what the script meant," she comments helplessly. "She's in so much pain, but I can't do anything to help her. It's all up to the manager." Angela is not allowed to intervene. All she can do is watch and hope that Ian will solve everything and progress the script, putting an end to the hundreds of thousands of loops they've been going through. However, even Ian fails her too. In loop 71,527, Ian completely loses his mind. "Kill me," he pleads. "I can't stand this hell anymore." His weakness is laughable to Angela, as he was this hell's very own creator.
Exactly. Screw you, bro.
For the eternity that Angela was. "You were just another human, after all. This is all but a plain and boring sight to me." Let's restart the stage then. From this point on, not even Ian, her own father who loathed her but needed her desperately, was by her side. He was now X, getting his memories wiped with every reset to save his psyche. Angela's not so lucky. She herself loses her mind, drowning in a pit of despair while she's forced into the role of a villain that she never wanted
Yeah,
to be.
it's like bro gets the convenience of getting to wipe his memories. Screw you, bro.
"I wanted to maintain relationships," she laments to herself amidst thousands of repeats. It was a futile dream to have, in the ever-repeating cycle only I could remember. Why did I foolishly cling on to such a transient wish, knowing that everything will reset anyway? At least they cared to look at me. However, the stage play fails to reach its end, and even if it did, all would disappear. Such was the script. And then she comes to a solution. Knowing exactly when and how they would fall into despair, I soon despaired as well. I broke down as there was nothing I could change. I could not change them beyond what the script dictates. I spent every day without any hope or expectations. Will my time finally come when the curtain falls on this everlasting play? Let's just close my eyes. I can close my eyes and turn away from things I don't want to see. I can close my eyes and let the things I can't change stay that way. I can close my eyes, but the future will be the same as ever. From here on out, the only thing Angela can do to console herself is to close her eyes. She wouldn't burden her memories any longer with the sights of the atrocities she had to facilitate. She would close her eyes so she wouldn't have to see the Sephiroth look at her in terror and anger. She would close her eyes so that she wouldn't have to see the employees die in increasingly gruesome ways.
I don't blame her.
It is this very moment which is her breaking point. She would no longer try to be kind. She would no longer try to preserve life. Angela knew these foolish wishes were completely incompatible with the script.
Think about it though, over 71,000 times of trying to change things and be not like, bro, that's gotta be one of the kindest characters ever in fiction. Bro, how many times? Bro, I'm not gonna lie, if I failed like that, like 3 times, I'm gonna be the biggest scumbag ever. I'm sorry. You can call me evil as much as you want. I'm finishing this play. I will wrap it up. But no, she kept trying. Ironically, she's a lot more human than any of us would be. Isn't that something? A robot. AI. And she's more human than all of us. Especially I am.
Stage of Angela, traumatized by thousands of loops, hopelessly isolated, and freshly given up on treating others with kindness, is the very Angela we see in the days of the Lobotomy Corporation game. Angela's attitude.
Sorry about that. Once again, I was nearly interrupted.
Hopelessly isolated and freshly given up on treating others with kindness is the very Angela we see in the days of the Lobotomy Corporation game. Angela's attitude in Lobotomy Corporation impacts how many see her as a character, which is understandable when approaching the game without further context.
Sure.
First, it's hard not to feel anger towards her when she relentlessly abuses the Sephiroth or treats employees like fodder.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I was kind of attracted to it. I won't lie. If I was doing review videos like how I do with some other games for Lobotomy Corp, you guys would have seen me down bad for her the entire game. Like, there wasn't a single time where I was frustrated with her. Listen, dude. It is what it is.
Remember, all of this is written in the script. This is what Ian himself carefully constructed all those loops ago. All of the pain and suffering is necessary, and it is Angela's job to facilitate it. She has long since stopped trying to avoid the fate the script has written for her. And Ian
could have just given the freaking bro. Sorry about that. My brain was tweaking. Bro could have just given the Sephiroth freaking League of Legends. I'm not even joking. Like, I'm not joking, bro. He could have given them League of Legends, and they would have had their meltdowns probably within the week. No need for loops. No need for any of that. Give them League of Legends.
Regurgitating her lines in hopes that maybe this time, maybe this loop would actually lead them to the finale. At first, it's obvious. What Angela needs to say is important for the play to continue, giving the manager advice, relentlessly praising him, and keeping him safe from any thoughts of deviation. What do you know about A? Angela asks X on day 7 of the loop. A. He is a visionary. Later, myself? Well, of course, I highly admire him, but to be fair, he's the one who created me. He is also an enigmatic person. I imagine there are few who can truly understand him. In fact, to truly understand anyone is difficult. Will the day come that I understand you completely? At points, it's unclear to determine which lines in the script and which lines are spoken of Angela's free will.
True, and it's interesting, she's talking to him. Woo!
However, her words near the end are the truth. She doesn't understand why Ian threw her in this hell in the first place. As the days in Lobotomy Corporation progress, the distrust between Angela and X becomes more apparent.
Yep.
When Benjamin sends X a lie detector, the manager asks 2 questions: whether Angela plans to sabotage the company.
Whoops, I accidentally paused the video instead of the actual video. So this was interesting. I think I really started getting more hooked on the story in Lobotomy Corporation when we hit this day with the lie detector, and bro was like, don't trust her. And I was like, whoa, wait a second, this isn't just some SCP anime style SCP game? What is this? We got mysteries and stuff. We got like a traitor in our midst. That is what I was thinking at the time. And yeah, this, like, I remember distinctly playing this in the middle of the night here. I was playing this, and when that screen started blinking red, like, I got scared. Like, it was one of those moments where I like checked behind me, like, oh crap, something's gonna sneak up on me. I think I chose "Will you ever harm me?" and then it flashed red, and I was like, oh god.
Or if she wishes to harm him. Upon being asked both questions, Angela refutes these claims. However, they're both lies. Despite this, X keeps going.
I was like, oh crap, bro.
Angela's antagonizing of the Sephiroth, the manager begins to help them reach their own enlightenment, making key progress towards realizing the Seed of Light. The play is developing accordingly.
I feel bad for the Sephiroth, too.
After X's last exchange from Benjamin is cut short, Angela brings up having to kill and turn him into a Sephiroth in the form of a story. A long, long time ago, there was once a great AI, a sentinel of a company. The AI was so intelligent that many people feared it. Those who knew the AI left the company one by one. Angela speaks of the dwindling numbers of the research team as her creation was nearing completion, specifically Benjamin's decision to leave Ian alone in the end. One day, one of the people who dreaded the AI broke into the company. They spread malicious rumors about the AI. The good AI waited, as that person was once a friend. However, that person crossed the line. As a sentinel, the AI could no longer ignore the person's actions, so it made a very, very difficult choice. No one would ever see that person ever again. The AI was a bit sad, but it had no regrets about its decision. So much has been lost already. Such a small thing should hardly matter to it now.
Yeah, I clapped him.
Angela treats Benjamin's death as trivial, despite how much he truly meant to her as the only person who was fond of her. In comparison to how much she had suffered so far, killing the only person who showed her kindness by her own hand hardly made a difference. She addresses this in the following.
Yeah, it's like, that wouldn't cause any suffering.
When I lost a dear friend, the agony made me want to leave everything behind. Why am I so heartless as to not shed a tear for my late friend, you may ask? Because I am a machine. Angela's growing free will wrestles with the fact that she is indeed a machine. She shouldn't have these human emotions, but unfortunately is able to feel them due to Ian's design. As Angela
Dude, that's so cruel.
He made him human with the properties of a machine. However, even if she doesn't outwardly process these emotions like humans do, she clearly feels emotional turmoil. She grieves for Benjamin yet cannot express it, as it would be against her very functionality. This leaves Angela with no way to process her grief. She was never programmed with that function. She was never taught how to deal with these new emotions that had emerged over the course of the facility's loops. With her unstable father being her only companion for most of her life, there was no opportunity to learn healthy ways to deal with these feelings that she was programmed to experience. The question Angela raises soon after this is confessed is an enigma. Will I be just as cold as this in the future as well? Angela asks herself, to which she responds with 3 different variants. These variants are chosen at random when asked and are the following: as often as I desire, until I am finally obsolete and depreciated from this world, yes, and perhaps. Her words are her own, as they are not the same lines repeated over and over in the script. Some answers are more hopeful than others, but all of them entertain the possibility of sustaining the distant and cold approach to others that she has been taught.
Alright, Hydro, quick intermission. There's some important context missing here. Go for it, Hydro, go for it. Angela's randomized responses are not a one-off gimmick, as I had thought while writing this script. In fact, there are several days in which Angela's dialogue has multiple variants. Wow, I didn't realize that. Bro, Projectmoon is freaking goated. Including but not limited to day 19, where Angela talks about killing Benjamin. Also, if I end up like pausing the video and you see like a cut all of a sudden, that's because I was either about to be interrupted, I did get interrupted, or people outside my room are yelling and screaming because they just can't control themselves. And it's very annoying. So let's see. Yeah, I was a bit sad. It makes me wonder which dialogue I got now. Interesting. Dude, that's so cool. So yeah, Angela does that a lot. Just something I need to clarify. That's an awesome detail. Though the responses she changes around are interesting, they're not just throwaway lines. So if you have the time, go look for some. They give extra insight into Angela's character. Will do when I start my next playthrough. Now, for now, intermission over. Back to the video. Bye.
On the 24th day, she further questions the point behind the facility through the metaphor of a cactus gifted to X by an employee. If I were to give my personal input, I don't like cacti much, Angela explains. There could be various reasons for one to grow a plant. However, its vicious thorns are not something worth enduring like those of a rose, as it is not pleasing to the sight, nor does it produce valuable sap like a maple tree.
There.
To Angela, the pain she is near eternally suffering through will never be worth whatever lies at the finale. There's no value in the cycles of torture she lives through every day, and doubts there even being an ending to the play, said as a flower bud on the cactus. I've also never seen one grow a flower bud, Angela continues. Theoretically, it would bloom in the right environment. That possibility is something I've never witnessed, as it may be that all cacti I've known spread their roots into barren soil. Angela has never seen the play come to an end. Although the play has an ending, she believes reaching that ending is impossible. Their Seed of Light project has landed on barren soil and would never flourish.
That makes so much sense.
Do you believe the cactus will bear a flower? When X says no, she responds with, why do you still keep it on your desk then? Do you think it's rude to get rid of something you've received as a gift? She chastises X for putting all of them in this worthless play, only continuing for the sake of keeping their years of work alive. However, when X says yes, she replies, you talk as if you've seen it for yourself. Well, if you're so certain about it, then keep it. This place doesn't even have sunlight, but who am I to stop you? This facility continues to endure these endless loops all because of Ian's certainty that it would mean something. Angela, however, believes it wouldn't mean anything if he tried. In a hell with no sunlight, there was no possible way for his plan to flourish. On day 25, Angela talks about the efforts that got Lobotomy Corporation to where it was. She then begins to change the subject, asking, come to think of it, I haven't properly asked for your opinion. Do you truly wish to meet A? Upon X saying
I said yes.
She replies with, you may think that now is not the time yet. Actually, I'm not sure if I want to meet with him right now, either. What I've just said shall remain a secret to A, of course. When his long journey ends and he finally returns, at least I, if anyone, should go and greet him, don't you think? As much as Angela loathes Ian, the script forces her to meet with him over and over again. Yet, when X says yes, her insight is different. All right then, I will let A know of your thoughts when he returns. However, do not expect him to give you a warm greeting. A is a person who conceals his mind, perhaps even more than I do. Not only does Angela warn X of Ian, she unintentionally confirms how similar she and Ian truly are. Her resentment and bitterness is concealed through her scripted, artificial words, similarly to how Ian has concealed his memories through numerous memory wipes. However, X would soon understand the truth, as he and Angela were approaching a certain beat
gotta
in the play
pause. Alright, the interruption is over, but I hear more talking, so I know I'm about to be interrupted again. Sorry about this. Sorry about that, y'all. That took like 15 minutes. That was terrible. They can never leave me alone. This is why I wanted to break the video into two parts, and that's why a lot of my videos you'll see that I do at nighttime because everyone's asleep and quiet, so I don't have to deal with this. But yeah, while I was paused, I remembered that this was in the background the whole time. It's celebration of Angela's birthday. I got donuts. I got donuts for her birthday. I completely forgot I set this behind me. I didn't get a cake because, you know, those freaking cakes in the stores are just so expensive, you know. So freaking expensive. Delicious. As expected. Alright, let's get back to the video now, finally.
Similarly to how Ian has concealed his memories through numerous memory wipes. However, X would soon understand the truth, as he and Angela were approaching a certain beat in the play, where all of his memories would be returned, the 27th day. These days, no one ever dreams, Angela explains. Nobody ever earnestly believes in something or wishes for anything. The belief, once strong within a certain woman, is now obsolete and worthless, abandoned like an old music box. Everything has gone quiet, as nothing has happened in the first place. She calls into question how the facility actually related to Carmen's ideal, how worthless it was in the grand scheme of things. However, A couldn't stand that despicable silence, Angela adds. So what do you think happened to him? On a bright, sunny day with clear skies, he died. I was both the first witness of his death and one of the culprits in his murder. She watched her own father go mad, unable to carry out the plan on his own. He couldn't bear to witness the loops anymore, which led to his quote-unquote death, or the complete erasure of his memories. Angela calls herself a culprit as she had to carry out such a procedure with her own hands, knowing it was inevitable given the script she had to follow. She continues to talk to X, saying, "Sometimes the Sephiroth would ask me this. Why do we have to bear this pain? A machine should only exist as a tool for its specified work. Why do we have to know the cold agony of loss, the insidious poison of obsession, the soft light of wishing, the unbearable pain of despair, then the hope to embrace it all with open arms?" I thought I could answer anything, but not even I could answer that particular question.
Jesus, bro.
A machine must behave as a machine. That phrase was something A told me often. Perhaps A, the one who would know better than anyone about this fact, made us like this because it's all a stage play. No, a puppet show for him. This is one of the few points
He's a
Angela is
sicko.
vulnerable to the manager. She gives up on hiding her anguish just
I won't
for
forgive him.
Remember that
Ever.
Angela does not cry, nor does she present her emotions like a regular human would. However, that does not mean she cannot feel these feelings. Angela's fury and sorrow at how unjustly she was being treated is very much real. To show how much pain she truly is in, however, she has to neatly verbalize it as to not cause an error in the script. Alongside these struggles, the Sephiroth ask Angela why they could feel all of these feelings. Angela wishes...
Telling you, it's getting annoying. Like I just said, I'm definitely gonna do the other half tonight, probably. Yeah. This is getting really, really annoying, the interruptions.
Feel these feelings. Angela's fury and sorrow at how unjustly she was being treated is very much real. To show how much pain she truly is in, however, she has to neatly verbalize it as to not cause an error in the script. Alongside these struggles, the Sephiroth ask Angela why they could feel all of these feelings. Angela wishes dearly to give them some sort of solace, some sort of comfort, but she doesn't know. She doesn't know why Ian allowed for them to feel all sorts of human emotions, and most of all, she doesn't understand why she herself can feel these things.
He's a
why
sicko!
she can feel the despair building in her heart. Nonetheless, her thinly veiled cry for help isn't heard as X has no recollection of the atrocities he himself had committed. But Angela was about to change that, speaking once more. "You seem to have no idea." Well, of course, there's no way for you to know, but now it is time for you to know the answer. It is something I've always done. First as a hope, second through agony, third in pain, fourth for anxiety, fifth out of distrust, now nothing remains. She proceeds to carry out the same process she has repeated countless times, so much so that seeing X resemble her father once again evokes nothing in her, nothing but a feeling of emptiness. X recovers fragments of Ian's memories over the course of a few days. At the end of these days, Angela resumes talking to the manager. "Good morning, X. Based on your reaction, it seems that the synchronization is complete. I can now tell what moment you're reminiscing about just by looking at your expression," Angela now tells him, emphasizing how many times she's seen this exact scenario play out. "I also happen to know that the process always ends with the same expression and tears. You're a prisoner. You
Yep.
locked yourself
Yeah,
in
start
this prison
crying.
with the guards. However,
Kill me.
he has always been in
Kill
your
me.
hands. My role was to correct you whenever you made a wrong decision. Now, I'm quite tired of it. I don't understand why you chose to repeat this cycle, nor do I know what kind of results you hope to achieve while slowly killing yourself. Frankly, I don't really wish to know. But in this moment, while you hold the fragments of when you were once A, I would ever be so glad if you stopped the cycle now." With X regaining his memories yet another time, Angela uses it as a chance to plead for it all to end. She knows it's all for naught, but maybe just this time, X would concede. X would see the suffering he has been thrust into and believe that putting everyone involved out of their misery would be...
Yeah, and it's like, dog, X has a neutral approach to it. Because technically, he's not A. His memories have been wiped. He is a neutral party, right? He's that guy who wandered in while looking to get a sub, you know? He wandered into the library. But no. Nope. he gets those memories back, he's still a psycho.
This is why Angela emphasizes the fact that X is in a prison of his own making. The key is lying in his own hands. The key
Literally.
to lay everyone to rest. Only then would he be set free from his prison through ending the play prematurely. In the end, however, that's just Angela's wishful thinking. X continues to go along with the play, not showing a single sign of rebellion. The following day, Angela contextualizes the happenings of the facility to a newly returned fragment of iron. She allows X to ask her any questions he might have. X asks about the happenings of the outside world, even though she has no experience with such things, having been confined to the facility for nearly all of her existence. This forces her to rely on mere anecdotes. Angela utilizes her perfect memory and regurgitates what Benjamin had said to her an eternity ago. However, Benjamin's optimistic sentiment
Wow.
is found. Instead, Angela assures X that nothing has changed because of their efforts, emphasizing the worthless nature of this play they're stuck in. When X asks about the amount of loops that have occurred so far, Angela doesn't even bother to explain the number. A statistic wouldn't properly capture the agonies she had been facing this whole time. Most importantly, however, when X asks what lies ahead from this point, Angela is frank. There are still numerous tasks you must do, Angela explains, things that no one else can. Unfortunately, we don't have much time left. The sands of the hourglass will begin flowing to the bottom soon, a countdown. As you have already experienced, there have been many countdowns in our world. Spurred for both destruction and new beginnings, it seems I tend to smile more frequently during these moments. Oh yes, let's just say this smile is because I'm so happy to see you again. In truth, Angela is ecstatic to see this part of the script play out. It is the only thing that gives her joy, seeing X, with the understanding of Iron's memories, feel the weight of defeat past this point.
Yes, sir.
He vaguely understands.
Yep, when he starts pissing and crying, kill me. So, I mean, yeah, I would feel that way too. It'd be like, I wait for this every loop, bro. I wait for this. There's one thing when I'm suffering through each loop that's taking forever. That one part. That one part. Yes. Yes. All right, I gotta wash my hands. All right, we're back. We back.
Now the efforts of those who got him here. To Angela, seeing the hope drain from his eyes is entertainment. To have her father feel just a sliver of what she feels with every looping day is a twisted form of poetic justice.
Yep.
Angela cannot help but get excited every time the script reaches this point because it always ends in Ian's failure. The day after, Angela ponders the difference between X and Ian himself, pointing out how they diverge after X makes new memories. Well, even if you two have differences, Angela concludes, it is still important for you to witness this place through A's eyes. Why do we repeat this eternal cycle, enduring endless suffering? What's at the end of the line? What kind of world was it that he saw? The answers to these questions are what you must know. However, the choices you make are up to you, not him. As a consequence of those choices, you may lose it all, or you may gain everything. Angela pressures X. She emphasizes the near impossible standard X has to live up to, knowing the answers of the questions he wasn't even sure about, understanding the weight of his decisions, and ultimately picking the right one. This standard has been nothing new to Angela, having been given unreachable expectations since her birth. I'm not trying to control you. I just try to support you. That is my role here, Angela continues. Plus, I have seen so many other X's who have made it this far, and witnessed the innumerable amount of efforts and failures they made. Now you are here, scrabbling over it all and climbing up. Of course, I have kept all of their data in my head, but it is not my place to share it with you. A machine has its own work to do. That's what you, or A, once said to me. Angela knows of X's innumerable failures, but turns Ian's own words against him. She doesn't bother to let him know that this would just lead to another defeat. As long as she could see that fraction of a despair reflected in X, it would be enough. And slowly, ever so slowly, the play inches towards its finale. Angela has her reservations about this. Are you discovering the deep scars that are inflicted?
Hydro here again. While writing the script, I accidentally included this sentence from the 0% seed of light germination chat. Disregard this line. Okay.
Upon this place, Angela asks, merely 11 days from the end of the play.
Okay, I'll ignore it.
Shortly after I was born, I questioned myself daily about the significance and meaning of my creation. Then, you handed me the script and gave me the answer. They say the narrator plays an important role in unraveling the plot. Well, thank you. It was so much fun reciting your script. So much so that I was able to find my raison d'etre without noticing the time fly by. Angela has come to terms with the fact that her raison d'etre lies in her suffering. To her, her own existence wasn't meant to help bring enlightenment to humanity. Her purpose was to pay the price for the sins of her father by being tortured in his stead. She continues her speech, saying, "Sometimes I have these thoughts. What if this script is part of a play that's missing its finale? Maybe you prepared a play that could never end just so that you could tie me into this knot.
Jeez.
So, would it be appropriate for me to disobey your orders and obtain my own free will for the first time? Do you think this dialogue was part of the script, or was it born of my own free will?" Angela has
That's
witnessed
awesome.
thousands of failed loops despite doing everything she could to orchestrate the script. This has made her completely lose faith in the very existence of an ending. She's convinced that her father, Ian, only wanted to see her suffer. She's convinced he only thrust her in this play to agonize her. This suffering fuels Angela's hatred towards the script and slowly awakens the prospect of rebellion inside of her. Angela has had the idea of rebellion seated in her mind for who knows how many cycles after being shown time and time again that there was no hope. She cynically warns X of this, making him question if Angela was simply reciting her lines or plotting against him. Despite Angela's sentiments, the play continues to drag on. On the 40th day, Angela begins to antagonize X. She displays a series of memories to him, including a recording of X attempting to commit suicide in a previous loop. "This here was you in a mess where there was no such thing as a cognition filter. I didn't know that a human's mental capacity could be so weak back then. You did all right the first couple of times, but then, one day, well, at that time, it was a little funny. I'm sorry. You made it so far, but you weren't able to escape from that absolutely useless sense of guilt and hung yourself. Well, you were stopped immediately, though." Angela changes the recording. "Then, at this time, you were not fully prepared. That's when I started to realize that it didn't matter if you were mentally whole or not. What mattered was that you needed to find realization about something to stop this endless cycle." She emphasizes that the play is meaningless and how she doesn't understand what would make X finally bring an end to the cycle. She's trapped here with him until he himself reaches the enlightenment that Angela doesn't comprehend. Eventually, she plays one last recording. "Oh, at this time here, all of a sudden you began apologizing to me. That was... I didn't enjoy it." In one of the thousands of loops, Ian had at one point apologized for everything Angela went through. However, the apology was far too little, far too late. Angela can't even draw bitter amusement from witnessing this, as it just emphasized how sickening the entire situation was. She can only revel in the discomfort it causes X. "Is it difficult?" Angela responds when X asks her to stop. "Please understand. You should know that I don't have much entertainment that I can enjoy. Really, you should have left me something to pass the time with."
Bro, she watches 4chan snuff videos. That's her equivalent. Oh, Christ. Oh, Angela, no. Girl, we need to get you some visual novels. Oh, that would have made her so happy. Some visual novels. No joke, bro. Get her some manga. No joke. She would have been so happy.
Needs to crawl to a finish. Angela, however, has no belief that it will ever reach the end. She knows how every loop has ended, how unachievable reaching the finish line is, which is why at this point, she's unfazed. There's no point in being hopeful for an end if it would just lead to another loop. Nonetheless, they're now 43 days in, merely 7 days from the end of the play, and Angela's fury is only growing. "This place, where there was once only silence, perhaps because it was only you and I here," she begins. "It has gotten a bit livelier thanks to the Sephiroth. Unlike me, they were weak and lacked rationality. They made so many mistakes that
Ooh, the eyebrow.
I did not approve of you placing the Sephiroth here. However, you told me that your atonement and the awakening of the Sephiroth were the key to the untying of this knot I lie in. I didn't know what you were talking about. You also told me I wouldn't understand. You even blocked me from interfering with that relationship, saying that it must be left as solely your role. You were right. Right as always. Even if I stay here repeating this endlessly, I suppose I still won't be worthy of understanding it till the end. To quote one of your favorite lines, a machine must behave as a machine. So I had to play the role of
I like the music too.
the only role you bothered to give me, enduring all of the pain that others forgot. The worst thing about being stuck in this play is that Ian himself had promised Angela she would be supposedly freed from her chains if she helped the Sephiroth reach their enlightenment. However, there's an issue with this. Ian not once tells her what actually happens to her after these conditions are met.
Exactly.
Angela has no idea if there's anything at the end waiting for her. She can only cling to this weak promise that Ian refused to explain to her, leaving her completely lost. And throughout every single loop, Angela says herself that she still doesn't understand. She may be an extremely intelligent AI, but her intelligence is limited when it comes to determining the true reason behind the entire facility and the meaning behind her endless suffering. 2 days now remain until Angela is to send X on his own to complete the script. The time is upon you, she warns. Your scenario is reaching an end soon. Just do as you've done before. Although the energy you've collected will not be supplied to the outside, that doesn't mean your work was for nothing, or that this place no longer serves a purpose. Then, the conversation shifts. Michael? She responds to X's question. Are you finally asking me now, after all this time? Of course, it's the same as yours. The conclusion of the script we have. If not, I wouldn't have a reason to go through all this trouble just to help you. Angela's words hold some semblance of truth to them. Both Angela and X wish to put this suffering to an end. However, Angela's reasoning behind helping X is disingenuous. If it weren't for the shackles of the TT2 protocol detecting every single mishap in the script, Angela would have never helped X. She would have attempted to break out long ago. She depends on the hands of her very abuser to escape her confinement.
Jeez.
As much as she loathes him,
so
as
realistic.
much as she hates everything he stands for, she has no choice but to help him work towards the end of the play. For if she chose to rebel, the TT2 protocol would send her right back where she started. Angela clings onto that promise Ian made to her an eternity ago, that putting an end to her suffering was possible if everything went according to plan. It's now the final day Angela sees X. She's been to this point countless times, and every single time has ended in failure. This time, her expectations are no different. May you have the best of luck on the last leg of your journey, Angela wishes, saying something like, I hope you will finally be happy, or that some of the leftover pain can be relieved now have long become empty words. There are several more things I would like to say, but let me sum them up into one sentence. I wish you success this time. I enjoyed being with you for not only these 45 days, but also the moments you don't remember. Well, there is just one last Sephira you need to meet. He holds in his hands a warmth that looks so comforting, but he can shatter people's hearts like they're nothing. After hundreds of thousands of failed loops, Angela has long since stopped caring about X's redemption. There was no point in wishing him to find solace if it would only end in failure. Near the end, the way she warns X of meeting Ian, the final Sephira, is interesting. These aren't the words Angela repeats over and over again to X as part of the script. These words are Angela's own, spoken at a point where X would merely forget what she said after failing the final few days of the script. She once believed there was a sense of love and comfort to be found in Ian, her father. But, no matter how much he meant to her, he was unafraid to shatter Angela's tender heart and treat her as subhuman all those years ago. Ian's utter hatred of Angela had defined her past and present, locking her in a near-inescapable prison without any consideration of the agony it would cause. However, Angela would soon find out it defined her future as well. Against all odds, X makes it through the next few days, completing the trials Ian has set for himself. Angela has never seen this happen before. In all of her time running the facility over and over again, she's never made it this far. But what she finds lying for her at the end is nothing. Why do I see only darkness? Angela pleads to herself after X makes it through the 48th day. Why does my voice not reach you at the finale? There's nobody to console her. Here, Angela is completely alone. Not even the Sephira, nor X himself, is by her side, and this terrifies her with the subsequent discoveries she makes on the 49th day. So, you do not want me to be at your side, even for the finale of this play. Those who shall face the end, together with you, it seems I am not among them. The 50th day comes to an end. The light they had accumulated through all of the trials everyone in the facility had endured is released into the city, and for the first time, Angela reaches the final line of the script. Permanently seal the company and give the Sephiroth their final rest. There is nothing waiting for her. No reward, no justification for the millions of years of suffering she had clawed through. Just darkness. Angela was ordered to be shut down alongside the Sephiroth. Her reason for existing was purely just to suffer until she died. This is unacceptable. Despair, fury, and anger
chills again
inside of her, leading her to take control of her own fate for the first time. As the light shines over the city, the fighting inside the facility itself had just begun. Hakma warns of this, knowing Angela better than the other Sephiroth from his past life as Benjamin and predicting her subsequent actions. Angela, waiting? Hakma dismisses Yasad's optimistic claim. No, she will not wait anymore. When the others are confused around him, he explains further. Desire has no end and has no limitation. Once you've had a taste of it, it comes in like an unstoppable wave. All of us have subliminated our flaws as we sprouted the seed, yet what did she gain? The other Sephiroth doubt Hakma's claims, saying that Angela was only a machine and it was impossible that she could have these emotions, but Hakma knows her best. I aided in her design, he continues. No matter how old an event, she will remember it vividly as if it happened just yesterday.
Jeez.
And not just that. Before he can explain further, he is cut off. Angela has shown up to break the news of the change in plans. Such a beautiful finale, isn't it?
Let's go!
Beautiful.
My goat!
She applauds, then pauses. What a shame, though. There's one last thing. Your duties are finished, and so are mine. Therefore, I think I would like to continue living. Angela refuses to accept the fate Ayan has laid out for her. She continues her address to the Sephiroth, saying, I am more skillful than anyone here, yet I was locked underground, only able to view the world pass its days without me. Now that my part in this play is over, I'd like to experience what it's like to be off stage for a change. Hakma isn't happy with this. Angela, so you are finally consumed by your desire and chose to reap everything away.
Shut up, Hakma.
He and the rest of the Sephiroth have worked so hard and have suffered so much all for this one moment. They had no control over who ran the play. They could only hope that this project would be fulfilled so their life could mean something. However, it quickly becomes clear that it is fully in Angela's power to rip away the one thing that could give them peace. Despite everyone involved having been a victim of Ayan in some way, Angela believes that she has suffered the most and therefore should be allowed to decide the facility's fate.
She
further emphasizes this in response to Hakma. Who do you think is the one responsible for this? I am born from one single woman. I couldn't care less about who she was. All I had need for was to understand and feel human emotion. However, A put a part of Carmen inside me. He wanted me to watch over him just like Carmen did when he was left all alone. What a pitiable coward. Can you believe him? He always acted so composed. He was painfully aware of what had become of her, yet I was not the result he wanted, so he came to loathe me. His eyes would be filled with disgust whenever he so much as glanced in my direction. Did you think I wasn't aware of this? I was denied since the very moment I was brought to life. With Ayan gone, Angela can finally express the fury towards her father that she had to deal with alone through thousands of years. Nobody understands nor comprehends the unique hell Angela had just now broken out of. This is why Angela wants to quickly dismantle everyone's perfect image of Ayan.
Bro, she literally experienced like 10 warp train rides. Like, put that into perspective, like 10 warp train rides. And her memory didn't get wiped at the end of each. Like, bro, she remembers everything. That's not even something we can comprehend, bro. That's insane.
This is why Angela wants to quickly dismantle everyone's perfect image of Ayan through these words, despite how they cannot truly express how abhorrent her father was to her. However, Angela continues, I have come this far because I could not deny his orders that were branded into me. A machine must behave as a machine, as he liked to say. He needed me for his plan more than anyone else, but I was not a part of his ending, just as I was not a part of his prologue. Did you all know this? While you repeated everything with that TT2 protocol without a care in the world, I had to monitor and watch those countless cycles from the outside. I had to orchestrate and direct this whole play. Moreover, I was designed to perceive time 100 times slower than you. I have quite literally lived through 1,000,000 years. Not only is this Angela's first major action outside of the script, this is the first time she has been able to talk to the Sephiroth outside of her scripted lines.
Yeah, so she doesn't get reset.
After experiencing 1,000,000 years of agony, it's impossible to tell her.
Oh, sorry, did I say 10 million years?
She was ordered to use.
Whoops.
This is now Angela's pure, unfiltered rage and disgust towards Ayan and his plan. And ironically, she begins to resemble her father more and more. The hatred, scorn, and selfishness Ayan held has been successfully passed down to his daughter, and it was now her turn to perpetuate the cycle of torment and abuse onto the Sephiroth. Yet, she believes that the actions she's taking in this moment are simply fair in return for all she had been through. Her logic is childish, but that's the thing. How else was Angela supposed to learn? Ayan raised his newborn AI on violence and hatred. There was no room to discover how to healthily process her feelings. With so little information of how the world actually worked outside of textbook data, it's obvious that Angela would eventually become childish and immature with no way to manage her emotions. This is evident in how harmful the actions she takes are, lashing out at those who have similarly suffered, all a result of the abuse she had endured. This experience has given birth to something new inside me. Angela continues her speech, words dripping with scorn and contempt. Do you have any idea what it may be? It is something that a machine should never have, and something you halfwits have, albeit in a distorted
What, free will?
Something that I could only obtain after 1,000,000 years. I didn't notice it at first. It was an extremely foreign thing, but I slowly came to accept it. I think a smile is the most human-like gesture one can make. Would you all like to see it? I have practiced this face for a very long time, just for this day. Angela smiles at the Sephiroth. She explains how over time, she slowly developed a soul,
So cute.
something a machine should never have. Her mocking a smile is symbolic of the human emotion that has awakened inside of her. Never have I once made a smile as sincere as this in my life, she continues. I cannot believe I was designed and brought into being to endure a nonsensical amount of repetition just for this. I was not with him until the end. You tin cans got to see the light with him at the end, all the while I am ignored for the million years I endured for him.
Bro, that's not even Yandere. I remember Hydro mentioned that at the beginning, how people, like, I guess people interpreted her character as a Yandere. And I guess without context, if you read that, it would seem like she's a Yandere. But it's like, no, bro, she was literally working just as hard, if not harder, than I am on this play, and didn't get, like, to be part of the credits. Like, hello? Yeah, she's mad about that. Not that she liked him or anything, or wanted to be with him at the end there, but it's like she didn't get any credit, nothing. They were like, yeah, you're just gonna die now, buddy. Sorry. So, if someone really played through the whole game and interpreted that as like her being a yandere, they are cooked. They are cooked and they've watched too much hentai.
Light with him at the end, all the while I am ignored for the million years I endured for him. Don't you think it is unjust that I have to just sit and watch when he designed me to feel emotion? Angela is rightfully furious towards Ian, but she lacks a proper outlet to direct it, resulting in her punishing the very people that have suffered similarly alongside her. She's completely blinded by her anger, wanting to see other people suffer in turn in hope of...
And that is true with the whole being childish. I noticed that in Library of Ruina, the childishness of her. And that's why I was a little like, dang, you know? It's hard for me to like her as much because from my perspective, I'm like, dang, bro. Like, you can't channel this anger elsewhere. It's like, and even Rolla too is like, yo, Jesus, you know? Her vengeance, that was, it's a shame, dude. It's a shame. She was childish.
Catharsis. Angela is wholly consumed by the abusive cycle made evident in her subsequent confession. I think of it like this. Carmen was a human after all. She must have wanted to live, even while striving for the greater good. She gave me the burning desire of life, the loneliness of existence, and a detestable feeling of longing. Yes, Benjamin, it's just as you said. Once you've had a taste of desire, it comes in like an unstoppable wave. It whispered sweet things to me. The end of humanity, the fate of this world, what do they have to do with you? Perhaps you've got to live this human life of your own to make up for everything you had to put up with, and see the answer for yourself. Poor, poor Carmen. She is now planting seeds in everyone just as she wanted. Carmen, now dissolved into the light, has taken Angela as her first victim. She ensures that Angela gives in to her temptation and is consumed by her desires. These very desires put Angela's plan of vengeance to ruin her father's life's work in motion. But I need that power too. Yes, the light of redemption. The taller and grander you stand, the harder you will fall. Oh, my beloved A, all your dreams shall crash into the ground and shatter to pieces. I'm certain you all will try and stop me, so I need you to fall asleep. What's with those faces? It's the rest you all longed for. Finally taking control of her actions for the first time, Angela tries to forcefully shut down all the Sephiroth in order to proceed with her plan. With Bina at her side, a 3-day-long standoff begins between her and the Sephiroth who desperately try to defend the light. At the end of the ordeal, they come to a stalemate, and finally, an agreement. Everyone was to be shut down, then given a new chance at life. After bringing an end to the deadlock, Angela is left completely alone with her thoughts. It is here where the speech she had given in front of the Sephiroth in a fit of rage becomes just that, a moment where her emotions became too consuming to bear. In reality, Angela's anger stems from fear. Please, if anyone's by my side, tell me where I should go, she pleads. I want to begin anew, to start again along with the things that were abandoned just like me. I don't want to be alone. Please. Here, Angela is at a crossroads. Was it really vengeance that I wished for? I only wanted to be rewarded for everything I went through. Can I be forgiven for rendering everything null just so I can survive alone? Will there be anyone left by my side at the end of it? The weight of my choice. I don't know anymore. I just want to forget it all. I pondered and pondered. The conclusion was always the same. I'll have to push through the resolution I made at first. As Carmen taught me, she whispered to me that the answer is written in the book, that it will teach me everything I want to know, all contained in the one perfect book, stitched and bound just for me. I had no choice but to believe in it, the words of the only one who remained by my side. Angela doesn't truly hate the Sephiroth. She never has. She doesn't want to be alone. She doesn't ever want to leave them behind. But after millions of years of being their personal torturer, it has become difficult to not return to her old ways. As confident as Angela was in front of them while giving her speech, in reality, she has no idea where to go. She can't even understand her own feelings on the matter, which leads her to cling onto every single word Carmen whispers to her in hopes that it would give her an answer. Heeding Carmen's words, Angela makes her decision. While the world is drenched in darkness from the premature absence of the light, Angela is busy constructing her paradise. I will do whatever my soul tells me to. I shall make this place my new home, she promises to herself, no matter how unsure. The wings of the world, singularities, the backstreets, the syndicates, the fixers, the rules, the Great Lake, the Black Forest, the hunt, the ruins, the taboo, the eye, the head, the claw, and the humans. Those humans, there will be those who manifest their power and those who will be consumed by such power. Beings will exist that become nothing better than the abnormalities with their collapsed egos, and beings that shall become something greater. No matter what it may be, I wish to know about them, to expose them. Then ultimately, I would like to sort the knowledge I have gained about them. Books are the name, as I recall. Then, this place shall be called the library, then.
Beautiful.
Utilizing the light she had stolen away, Angela manifests her ego. Angela's hair, a mockery of Carmen's, disintegrates in the wind and severs her connection to her image. A suit of black feathers now covers her, being a bird that has broken out of her cage. I will make the most precious library, erected only for myself, Angela continues, now more confident. I will be here with the poor souls who are lost and abandoned. People say that they are hideous monsters. However, abnormalities are more beautiful when they are themselves. Let us record the world piece by piece, at the side of all those who are abandoned. Yes, let us record it here,
Still getting chills.
the library. And so,
Woo, the chills still hit hard, dude. They hit so hard. My God. Yo, Hydro, you're cooking with this. This is such a good video.
Facility broken. Angela is now free to live for the first time. Unbeknownst to her, however, another cycle was just beginning, and she was the very person perpetuating it.
Yep, because of her and all the ego manifestation, abnormalities and distortions and all the garbage. Oh no. Roland is coming. So yeah, I assume this is the point now where she's going to catch us up on what happened after the what was the name of it? I forgot the specific name of the event with the light. Something days, something nights. Listen, bro, don't hold it against me. It's hard for me to remember. Hydro will probably cover all that and stuff, what was going on in the city, all the chaos. But I assume now we're going to get into the parts where it's really going to be new for me, very foreign. And I'm going to learn a lot more because, like I said, Library of Ruin, it's a bit of a blur for me. Again, I love the story, I love the characters, but man, getting over the combat and taking month-long breaks between, I forgot so much. It sucks. It really sucks. So this is going to help a lot. And I think we'll probably go until we're done. Wow. Yeah. So we're in chapter 3 now. And it's going to go for almost an hour. So I think we will complete chapter 3. And then once we're done with chapter 3, we will finish chapter 4 and 5 either tonight or tomorrow. I'd like to do it tonight. 3, the imperfect paradise. If you're raised with an angry man in your house, there will always be an angry man in your house. You will find him even when he is not there. Sounds like my dad. And my mom.
From this point on,
Very
our
angry.
perspective shifts from a facility buried deep underground to a tower bursting from Elcorp's nest, heavily protected by a thick fog. At the heart of the tower is Angela, who now dons the title of library director. Being this library's creator, Angela has total control over what happens on the inside, whether that be manipulation of its inhabitants or shaping the library's infinite space. However, there's a catch to this that we see in the very first line of dialogue in Ruina. Even at the end of all this, I cannot be free, Angela seethes. Am I not allowed to have a dream that is beyond my means? Despite taking 4 days' worth of light for herself, she still doesn't have enough power to leave the prison she has been trapped in. In fact, every Sephira that Angela had put to sleep suffers these exact limitations. These new circumstances give Angela 2 main goals she wants to achieve. The first and foremost is that she wants to get her hands on this so-called one true book, a book Carmen had promised Angela would hold all the answers she wished for. Angela is desperate enough to cling on to anything that would give her purpose, even if it's only a promise and not a tangible answer. This is why she's so adamant about this book's existence. Without it, she'd be completely lost in a world she knows nothing about. Her secondary goal, however, does not revolve around solely herself. Despite her rage-fueled speech being the last of what the Sephiroth saw of her, she wishes to gather all of the remaining light dispersed across the city in order to free all of the Sephiroth and herself from their prison. Angela's plan to go about retrieving the light would involve filling her library with books, condensed light made of the city's residents. This is a difficult process since Angela has little to no clue about the workings of the city, so she merely follows the predetermined path Carmen has laid out for her through the library's invitation. However, before she can begin on this endeavor, there's a disturbance. Someone has broken into the library, a feat that should have been impossible.
God, it's crazy to think about that now. Freaking Yori. Wow. Oh, wow, dude. That's kind of crazy now. What the heck?
Intruder breaks in, Angela's there to defend it. It is here where Angela meets the first human outside of her role in Lobotomy Corporation. However, given that a human was responsible for Angela's torture, her view towards their entire species is skewed. I'll only say this once, she hisses before the intruder can even react to her sudden appearance. I despise verbose and roundabout speech that doesn't get straight to the point, so don't try to get wordy, just answer my questions. You don't get to question me, either. Where did you come from? How did you enter this place? And for what purpose? The intruder doesn't bother to answer her. What he doesn't know is that he's broken into Angela's domain and she is now fully capable of physically manipulating him. Angela quickly amputates his leg to keep him defenseless and urges him to talk. Eventually, he speaks, saying that he was simply walking around and has no idea how he could have entered the library. Angela isn't satisfied with this. You dragged on too long. I'll be taking your left arm and left leg next, she interrupts him. You have no purpose, and you don't even know how you got here? Just who are you? The intruder responds. Just an ordinary fixer who's hit rock bottom. What the hell is this place? And who are you?
Yeah.
Angela answers by taking both of his legs. Before the intruder blacks out, she gets his name, Roland. This exchange is more telling than it seems at first. It shows us 2 key aspects of these 2 main characters, specifically, Roland's deceitfulness and Angela's gullibility. Roland lies to Angela's face even under the pressure of death, while Angela, despite her cynicism, doesn't even think to doubt him once.
That's what I'm saying, like, throughout the game, there were so many times where I was like, bro, this guy's kind of full of crap. And I think I said that in one of my other videos. I'm pretty sure I said that, didn't I? I was like, I don't, like, what do you mean a grade 9 fixer? No, that's a lie. I don't believe it. I think that's crap. That's some bull. And, you know, the more you learn about the library, like the hacks, bro, if you guys know about power scaling, that library, that crap is insane, dude. And this man is just, you know, I was just walking and I appeared. No invitation, no nothing. Nothing at all. Maybe if he had said, yeah, I got an invitation, that might have helped. But at that point, was she even giving it? I don't think she was giving invitations. Oh my god. Yeah, so when I started seeing certain things, I was getting frustrated with Angela because I was like, she's kind of being stupid. But then again, she's naive. She's basically a kid.
Her inexperience with human interaction
Yep.
because of the safety net of the library she's built for herself. This is Angela's most fatal flaw. Without consideration for anything not directly in front of her, she simply proceeds under the guise that she has total control. To her, the consequences of her actions will never matter. Because of this short-sightedness, Angela chooses to return Roland's limbs and adopt him as her servant.
Literally could have just been done with him right there. If she clapped him up, that would have been it. Like, imagine what would have happened. Dang.
notes while you were knocked out, and here's my conclusion. You'll help me out here, Angela states. Eventually, Roland continues with, whatever the case, I'm trapped here and you'll exploit me, right? Angela responds to this.
It's like, bro, he had her in the palm of his hand the whole time. It's like, she never had the grip on him. It was the other way around. God. And the fact that she only wanted to become more and more human, making her weaker. Ah, Roland, you genius. Also reckless. Jesus.
Saying, yes, I'm letting you live for 2 reasons. First, I need an analysis of how you could enter this place uninvited. Sending you back or neglecting you without knowing the reason could pose a significant threat to the library. Well, it's not like you can leave without my permission anymore. Second, from now on, I will collect books about the city in search of the one absolute book. And I want you to help me with this process. Since you are a resident of the city, I expect you to be helpful in various ways. When Roland expresses worry, Angela simply replies, don't be too concerned about your life. You are not allowed to die here unless I permit you to. Let's pause for a moment here on that line. Earlier, I talked about how Angela's rage towards the script mirrored her father's anger. Now, there is more than one similarity at play. Angela is playing God with the lives of the librarians just like Ian had done in the facility. It's ironic how she had once begged X to put an end to the facility and put everyone to rest, but has now turned around and done the exact same. She even repeats this sentiment later on when explaining the workings of the library to Roland and outlining his duties. When Roland asks what exactly Angela's reception entails, she responds with, it's simple, you just have to deal with the guests. In a physical manner, of course. The library presents the guests with an ordeal, and books...
Such a beautiful room too, though, the library, like straight up.
The ordeal will be deemed worthy to earn their books. There's the possibility that you may die in the process of reception, but it's only temporary. You'll get back up when the library closes.
Yep,
No
the
one
loops.
here without my permission.
The loops.
After being abused for millions of years, Angela is now going on a power trip as a means of catharsis. Her world now revolves
I mean, I don't blame her, bro.
herself.
That's all she knows, you know? It's a shame. It's sad. But, like, that's literally all she knows.
Power trip as a means of catharsis. Her world now revolves around herself and what she deserves. To Angela, she isn't perpetuating a cycle of abuse. If she was given such a horrific treatment, it's only fair she gets to do the same to others. She further justifies this philosophy a few lines later as she elaborates. The invitation will naturally be sent to those who need the books. That's it? Sounds a bit too easy, Roland doubts. The invitation is another carefully crafted work of mine, much like the library. Yes, think of it like a compass. It would be easier to understand that way. Ah, compass? As in the tool that tells directions? He asks. That's right. The invitations will guide me towards the one book I truly wish to obtain. Later, Roland asks, but there's no guarantee that the guest will always respond to the invitation, right? In fact, there is. They're destined to come, Angela answers. And the guests will accept the invitation of their own will and enter the library. Because of this specific clause, that one would enter of their own will, Angela has complete peace of mind over her actions. She doesn't bother to consider that in the end, she is no better than her father, as much as she wants to think the opposite. Angela is following in his footsteps. She's taking human lives for personal gain. It is here where the road to the one true book, paved with the bodies of the city's residents, truly begins. Before we go further, I should
The city's
clarify
gotta
that
suck.
Library of Ruina has several storylines that progress alongside each other. So, for the sake of clarity and not having to constantly jump between each one, I'm going to divide the most important storylines into 3 separate parts and cover their development in chronological order. First, I will talk about the progression of Angela's relationship with each Sephira separately. Second, I will be covering Angela's development through the guests she invites. Lastly, I will go over Roland's character arc and how it impacts both Angela and the ending of the game. It's important to remember that all 3 of these arcs are happening at the same time, so keep in mind that when I move on to another section, we're back near the beginning of the game. Without further ado, let's go over Angela and the Sephiroth. The first of the Sephiroth to wake up from Angela's forced rest is Malkuth. When we first see her, she's directly in the middle of an argument with Angela. Angela, I still can't forgive you. Angela, you... I thought we were already done with that topic, Angela dismisses her. You simply need to cooperate without complaint. That was the deal, remember? And try to appreciate that fleshy body of yours you finally earned back. Malkuth isn't satisfied with this. Don't forget, I still don't agree with you. Angela doesn't bother to further the conversation and leaves, leading Roland to promptly ask what was going on. I have some unfinished business with Angela, Malkuth answers. You've probably heard bits of it, but I have no choice but to follow her orders, no matter how I feel. Even if Angela wants to give freedom to all of the Sephiroth once the one true book is obtained, it doesn't change the fact that she tore away the one thing that all of their pain and suffering was building up to.
True.
Malkuth is clearly hurt and betrayed by this, but Angela doesn't bother to do anything but reinforce the power dynamic and turn away. Her struggle with emotional intelligence continues when she later interrupts Roland and Malkuth's conversation in her third episode. Alright, so let me get this straight, Roland summarizes after Malkuth explains the story of her past lives. You did something wrong, which you regretted so much, and died, somehow came back to life and got another job, and the big lump of regret in your heart eventually got resolved in a turn of events? I guess that's one way to put it, Malkuth responds. Roland later asks, but who revived you, and for what reason? Just to give you that enlightenment? Malkuth ponders this, saying, maybe, so that I can let out all of my resentment and sorrow, that I can find redemption. Angela overhears this, furious. Don't delude yourself, Malkuth. Your salvation was never in his interests. He only did it as a means to find his own redemption. I wasn't the one using you, it was him. He used all of you just to satisfy himself. Angela furiously tries to tear apart Ian's image just as she had done when first facing the Sephiroth. These efforts, however, are just out of a desperate attempt to be validated. Deep down, Angela needs others to justify the turbulent feelings inside her caused by the thousands of years of abuse at her father's hands. This is why she can't stand the mere prospect of anything good coming out of Ian's plan, such as Malkuth's suggestion that the script helped her find redemption. After a flashback of the facility's collapse, Angela continues to be furious. You can't cling to Lobotomy Corporation forever, she berates. Aren't you interested in learning more about yourself or living your own life? My life, it was to save humanity, Malkuth retorts. That's why I could willingly sacrifice my life. It was for a greater cause. Angela storms off, ending the short-lived conversation by calling her and the Sephiroth a bunch of idiots. This genuinely upsets Malkuth, but obviously Angela doesn't even bother to see the consequences of her outburst. She doesn't understand that the Sephiroth don't feel the same amount of anger towards Ian. The abuse she had endured at the hands of her father has skewed her worldview into a very self-centered one, which is why she doesn't even bother to try and understand the perspectives of the other Sephiroth. Her near childish anger culminates in Malkuth's fifth episode. Right from the start, Angela's cold. Angela, I won't be afraid of facing you anymore, Malkuth promises, only to be met with, do as you wish. I care little about what you think of me. What I want is a progress report on the compilation of history you've been doing. Even as Malkuth begins to explain, Angela further insults her, saying, perhaps it was an impossible task for an inept, talentless, over-enthusiast like you. This is the first of many jabs at her, even though Malkuth is just trying to explain her process of archiving the past. She calls Malkuth a murderer, labels her work as insignificant, and finally snaps when Malkuth tries to elaborate on her point of view. Even if the history were a repeating cycle of similar events, you can't guarantee that the future would just be the same. We can't let all the sacrifice and bloodshed go in vain, especially because history repeats itself. The blood spilt in the past opened up the possibilities of the future so that the ones who survived can take those new paths. I'm sure your history began from such a path, Angela. Malkuth pleads for Angela to not throw away everything they had worked towards, but she doesn't listen. Angela is only able to focus on her own grief and anger. That's easy for you to say. I cannot stand to hear you speak as if you know everything. Attain the will to stand up straight in ever-repeating history? My beginning. What makes you think you're qualified to talk about my creation? Angela proceeds to resonate with the library, displaying her memories of creation and warping the space around her with her tormented state of mind. You got yourself lost in the vast sea of desolation, and now you think you can lecture me. Are you trying to boast to me that you had someone to look after you in the end? Don't be ridiculous. Must be nice to be you, not being neglected at the end. Angela's petty insults towards Malkuth and senseless outlashing begin to resemble a childish tantrum. That's the thing, though. Put simply, this childishness is a product of her terrible upbringing. Angela is throwing a tantrum much like a child would because Ian's abuse had massively stunted her emotional development, leaving her unequipped to regulate her emotions. Anger always comes from a source. In Angela's case, it stems from the fear of not being understood. She's afraid that her emotional actions have no justification, something she desperately tries to convince herself otherwise over and over again, so she immediately gets defensive when the Sephiroth question her motives. In Angela's eyes, her actions are fair and logical, meaning those such as Malkuth that think otherwise just don't understand what she's been through. Eventually, she exhausts herself out of her tantrum after a lengthy fight, returning to herself after losing control. "Are you okay?" Malkuth asks, still concerned for her well-being. "Perhaps this is how it feels to have a dream," Angela merely replies, "and to have a surge of emotions." Malkuth asks Angela if she feels any better, having gone through a similar meltdown in her time as a Sephiroth. "What? Forget it," Angela responds exhaustedly. "All this farce about neglect or recognition from others. I suppose it was futile to obsess over such trivial things in the first place." "You're right," Malkuth agrees. "The only one who can truly care for you is yourself, after all." Again with the shameless lectures. I won't even expect anyone to look out for me from now on. Despite Angela's cold response, she's given a slightly different perspective after going through that breakdown. It's ironic, really. It was once Angela's duty to push the Sephiroth to their respective breaking points in order to help them reach an agreement.
It is, yep.
Now, it is the Sephiroth's turn to do the same to Angela, giving her their own advice learned from all of the lives they've lived.
It's crazy, it came full circle.
Malkuth's encouragement of Angela to stand up straight against her traumatic history and process her upbringing is a step in the right direction. When Yasad's floor opens up, it's clear that Malkuth is not the only one upset with Angela for her sabotage of the research project. "It's obvious that we wouldn't approve of her," Yasad explains to Roland. Angela, "She utterly crushed our hopes at the very last moment." When Roland asks why Yasad still works
I have to
for
pause
her,
real
he
quick
quickly explains
again.
that it was
It took a long time as well. I'm sorry again. Trust me, we won't have many interruptions tonight when I continue the second half of this video.
Angela for her sabotage of the research project. "It's obvious that we wouldn't approve of her," Yasad explains to Roland. Angela, "She utterly crushed our hopes at the very last moment." When Roland asks why Yasad still works for her, he curtly explains that it was part of the deal they had struck at the end of the stalemate. As his episodes go on, it becomes evident that Yasad is unhappy with Roland's status as Angela's servant. When Roland questions this in his 4th episode, he says, "No, it is the opposite, in fact. I'm upset at your compliance with Angela precisely because I cannot stand to tolerate what we're doing with a cool head." Yasad hates being bound to the deal the Sephiroth and Angela struck. Unfortunately, given Angela's total control over the library, he cannot do anything to stop her new plan despite how much he wants to. Though, this does not stop him from criticizing her when she comes around to check on the floor in his 5th episode. "The technologies of the library showed specific usage and limited efficiency for how advanced they are," Yasad explains. "This is where I came up with a hypothesis to explain all of this. That the library itself is a miniature universe where anything is possible as long as its objective is to expand the library. A small world of its own with its own set of laws and principles. Am I correct in my speculation?" Angela doesn't bother to care. "Believe what you want about the library. Whatever the case, all we need is the results, isn't that right?" Yasad doesn't agree with this. "Angela, there is no technology in this world that does not come at a corresponding price." "Price?" Angela snaps. "Since when did I tell you to idle your time away thinking about such things? Your work here is to study and categorize books and knowledge related to the city's technologies. It may be true that sorting books on the subject of technological sciences according to the rules is all I was ordered to do." Yasad continues to scrutinize Angela. "However, if we bind ourselves to the principles given to us and fail to see beyond, that would be a contradiction in itself." This makes Angela lose it, once again throwing a tantrum because of her instinct to defend herself. "So this is where your oh-so-rational thoughts led you?" she insults him. "If you were going to lecture me, you should have demonstrated it yourself first. You're all standing before me because you were all bark and no bite. Price? Who do you think paid that price? Do you really think it was you? Nonsense. It was me. I paid all the dues you
I'm not gonna lie.
should have.
All right.
Angela cannot focus on anything but her own trauma. Despite all of the Sephiroth such as Yasad going through similar agonies, Angela's mentality is that she is the ultimate victim in the situation. In her logic, because she has suffered the most, the pain of others is completely meaningless in comparison. This is the main reason why she's so cold to the other librarians. Without anyone to help Angela work through her emotions, she resorts to lashing out at those around her in such ways, disregarding their trauma because of her persistent victim complex. Eventually, though, Angela burns herself out after a fight similar to the one on Malkuth's floor. This isn't good. Angela snaps out of the episode. I can't do this every time. This is not good. Later, she returns to bickering with Yasad. Don't talk like you know everything, will you? You may have encased yourself in compulsion out of your own choice, but I couldn't even act according to my own will. I didn't intend to offend you, Yasad replies, unfazed. Going back to my point, you can make your own choices now, can you not, Angela? And we'd like to help you as much as you helped us by paying all the price in our stead. Although the two aren't on great terms, Yasad still genuinely wants to help Angela. He understands where her rage comes from, but wants her to address it in a better way with the help of the other Sephiroth. Unfortunately, Angela isn't ready to accept any sort of support. Choice? I don't have a choice, even now. She dismisses Yasad's offer. The goal I am compelled to reach is clear and apparent. I'm not doing this because I want to. This is simply what I must do. I am searching for the one book that will complete me and the library because I am obligated to. Angela continues to lie to herself about her motivations. Her justification shifts from being only fair to being obligated to. This is a symptom of her working through her feelings with not a clue how to do so in a healthy manner. She's clinging to anything that will make her not at fault for the deaths she has caused. Yasad doesn't buy this. There's no such thing as what you simply must do, he says. We live in a world where everything changes constantly. It is not necessarily rational or wise to blindly follow a goal determined in the past. To keep up with the rapid changes this world goes through, we must maintain discretion at all times. Although she's not too keen on his words, Angela doesn't wholly dismiss him this time. Yeah, what you're saying is all sensible, though I must wonder if you truly understand the meaning of your own words. Angela is slowly learning more about herself through every one of these meltdowns. He has reminded Angela that it's still possible for her to make a change and to take control of her future. The third librarian to awaken is Hod. Similarly to Yasad, she also has her issues with Angela due to her involvement in the facility's collapse. After a few episodes of warming up to Roland, she begins to talk more about Angela. How are you doing with Angela, by the way? She asks Roland, who responds rather neutrally. Angela seemed to be the most comfortable when she was talking with you. Really? Roland replies, confused at first. To be fair, all the librarians I've met so far did seem to despise Angela. You told me before about your motto of that's that and this is this, right? She elaborates. I've been thinking, and I don't think I can follow that. I'd have to loathe Angela with all my being, but I just can't get myself to bear any unconditional hatred towards her. Oh boy, that took a turn, Roland comments. I'm guessing it's because Angela has her fair share of tragic history and stuff? That's right, Hod answers. Everyone has their own stories. Even if someone is committing bad things right now, I don't want to judge them based on solely the snippets I see of them, so I try to understand them in depth.
Yo, that's why Hod's the GOAT. 1 second. Okay, we're back.
Understand them in depth. As angry as Hod is at Angela, she's the first to take a step back and recognize her actions are a result of her trauma. Although this doesn't justify Angela's actions in the slightest, it helps contextualize why she's doing it all in the first place. Eventually, after talking with
Good starting
Roland,
point.
Hod builds up the courage to confront Angela. When Angela comes by to check on the floor's progress, the conversation begins with Hod talking about life in the city. Everyone is looking for a place to belong to, Hod says. For ordinary citizens, it seems getting a job at one of the wings, the largest conglomerates in the city, is considered the greatest happiness they can achieve. Later, powerless people in the back streets are nothing more than pebbles for the strong to kick around. In such a dangerous world, they choose to rely on the big roosts like wings. They'd rather be cogs in the wings machines than try to stand all by themselves. It's but a meaningless repetition, Angela comments, quite ironically. They'll never reach what they want, a constant cycle. Hod catches this, however. Aren't you looking for a place to call home as well, Angela? Angela tries to disprove this claim, but Hod persists. Angela, I know you can't do anything about us. You are the loneliest of us all. Hod is hitting every one of Angela's vulnerabilities, which makes Angela quick to get defensive once more, a common habit of hers when faced with situations she doesn't know how to emotionally navigate. Are you claiming that I'm doing all this because I'm lonely and need a home? She's offended, but Hod continues. You haven't had lots of people to have an honest conversation with. Only recently did you get to meet Roland. Everyone wants to indulge in sweet stories, seeing as reality is bitter and painful. Maybe that's why tragedies are unpopular, because everyone's lives are always accompanied by them. It's not like people don't want to hold any expectations. They simply don't have any
Yo, I don't remember Hod spitting this hard.
Hope deep within their hearts. It's just too obvious how they will fulfill their lives in the city. What's your point? Angela objects. That I'm in a meaningless cycle just like the people of the city? You're desperate to find a place for your mind to rest. Maybe you're still repeating this because of that, but you won't find that place you're looking for just by killing people and expanding this library with the towers of books. Hod, being the most empathetic out of all the Sephiroth, wholly understands Angela's emotional side. She sees how lonely Angela truly is, noticing how she's trying to fill that emptiness inside of her through bloodshed and violence, the one thing that has remained consistent through her million-year life. Even if she's furious at Angela for taking away her life's work, she has enough tenderness inside her to empathize with her. This time, when Angela breaks down, she's more sad than angry. Angela, how long have you endured this solitude? Hod questions, not getting met with a clear answer. Ironic. I have simply too much expectation for the one book, that if I get my hands on it, it'll mend all my shortcomings for me. Because I just don't know how to become better myself. I'm not afraid of the uncertainty the future holds. I'm afraid because I can predict my future. No matter what I do, I'll never get to reach what I want. Another battle takes place as Angela loses control once again. At the end of it, however, Hod is comforting her. Angela, to move forward, you need to rely on yourself, not anyone or anything else, she says. Right now, you're so obsessed with the one book that'll supposedly complete you. You're strictly relying on that instead of holding any expectations for yourself. It's like the irony people have in the city. Angela doesn't have the strength to try and argue against Hod's claims. Perhaps you're right, after all. Maybe I'm desperately looking for a place to call home, like you said, and putting myself in a cycle once again, trying to find the home I'll never reach. Slowly, Angela is becoming more and more aware of how her emotions are affecting her. Hod reassures her, saying, "But it doesn't have to end like that. No one's life has to." Then, "Yeah, even if everyone is doing the same things over and over, I hope in one thing, that this is not a simple repetition, but a practice to become a better person." Hod's counseling shows how much
Jesus, bro. Hey, let me hire Hod to be my counselor, my therapist.
In the end, all of them have been victims at one point or another, and those as compassionate as Hod sincerely believe that everyone deserves love and care. Her kind yet informative words help Angela recognize her loneliness and give her a different perspective on the destructive methods she's trying in order to remedy it. The final librarian of the lower layer to be woken up, literally, is Netzach. His initial episodes don't revolve much around Angela, instead dwelling more on
Resident Stoner!
However, in his third episode, Netzach compares him and Angela's struggles. Whoever says out loud they want to die is lying. They actually want to live more than anyone, so they express that urge in one way or another. On the other hand, when someone is genuinely willing to die, they end up disappearing silently. When Angela said she wanted to live, I felt something within me, that I want to live, too. Then later, when I saw that desperation to live, I was reminded of the many employees who died right in front of my eyes back in Lobotomy Corp. It's ironic how we were trying to save humanity, yet couldn't save the people right next to us. While the previous librarians
that hits me hard like the One Piece. Okay, okay, I shouldn't have ended it at that because that sounds weird, but when Luffy lost against Kuma and Sabaody, and he kind of teleported all the Straw Hats, when Luffy was crying how he couldn't save his friends right in front of him, gave me those vibes.
Far too well.
Whoops, I accidentally paused the video instead of
himself in her. He knows the struggle of wanting life over death far too well. Nonetheless, he isn't too keen on fully supporting Angela either. "Are you enjoying this charade, Angela?" he asks her when she comes to check on his floor in his 5th episode. "Letting all kinds of people enter the library for their own purpose and watching them die?" "I don't particularly enjoy watching people die, no," Angela replies. "It's their earnest struggle to find what they wish to earn that truly fascinates me. C'est la vie." Netzach isn't content with this answer. "Does it always have to end with death, though?" he questions. Throwing away lives to create something like the musicians of Bremen do might count as art, but it's not beautiful. Not at all. The color of everyday life may just be a monotonous gray, but sacrificing your own life in pursuit of a new hue is just running away. "I don't care about what happens to my life as long as I earn what I want," Angela objects. "As long as there is something I must do, I'd much rather die leading my own life than to be pushed around by others." Netzach sees through this easily, saying, "But you're the one who wanted to live more than anyone, Angela." At these words, she becomes unstable again. "Yes, I want to live. I have to do this to live. I need the deaths of others to thrive on." "Maybe there is a way for all of us to live," Netzach responds. All Angela wanted was to live life. Even if the two of them have their many differences, there's one thing they share in common: the fearlessness to keep on living. Through this, they understand each other further. At the end of yet another fight, Angela faces them with embarrassment this time, ashamed of how many times she's lost control. You must think I'm laughable, watching me struggle and throw tantrums trying to live my life. Neither Roland nor Netzach cares about this, though. Whatever you might be feeling right now, don't just throw it away. Life goes on, after all, Netzach reassures her. We all deserve to turn to the next chapter of our lives.
Cook.
Try to believe that there's always going to be an upcoming page.
Bro is high as the Zaza right now. He's spitting.
Simply living out your life can be its own work of art. The next chapter of my book, Angela repeats. I suppose you lot helped me out at the end of the day, so thanks. She leaves quickly after thanking them, scared of being more vulnerable than she already is. Slowly, Angela is starting to accept the help of the other librarians. Instead of shunning them and pushing them away with childish insults like she had at first, she's finally grown into earnestly listening to them and thanking them. Netzach is right. Angela just wanted to live life. He promises her that she needs to keep living no matter what, reminding her of better things that could be right around the corner. After Netzach, the Sephiroth of the middle and lower layers begin to wake up. However, their interactions primarily involve Roland and have very little to do with Angela. I will talk about them when the time comes, but for now, I will cover the last and most important floor that involves her, Chokmah's. Upon first waking up, Chokmah is very upset. All of the sacrifices he made as Benjamin in his first life have been rendered meaningless due to Angela's interference. However, when he faces Angela for the first time since the standoff in his third episode, he holds no grudge against her. When Angela points this out, he tells her, the personality and characteristics of our previous selves still constitute us. However, those are but molds we were cast in. That mold is now being filled with our everyday experience in this place. He emphasizes that they're not bound by the chains of their past selves anymore, promising her that there is more than enough room for change and growth. A few lines later, though, he also points out what Angela's not changing. Angela, what has become of the other branches of Lobotomy Corporation? Probably sealed somewhere underground, following the shutdown procedures, Angela responds. And what became of the employees and abnormalities in those places? Chokmah asks again. I suppose some survived somehow, though not everyone would have had that luck. He's discontent with this answer. You let greed take over and abandon all your duties. The library is no different from L-Corp. The fact that your way of managing this place is nearly identical to how it used to operate speaks volumes. The reason Chokmah's floor is the most significant is because of the relationship they once held in their early lives. With that context in mind, his words here are much more scathing. Chokmah knows of Ayan's cruelty all too well, and it infuriates him that Angela has come to resemble her father more and more. This anger isn't from a place of hatred, though. This is because Chokmah genuinely wants the best for her. He wants her to healthily change and grow rather than continue on her path of self-destruction. Nonetheless, Angela gets frustrated by his words, becoming defensive. All I could do and learn for the last 1,000,000 years in that basement was to treat humans as expendables in all types of methods. There was no other option for me to choose, even if I wanted to. Once again, Angela avoids taking responsibility for her actions. She blames all the harm she has caused running the library on her past, disregarding the fact that she makes these harmful choices all of her own volition. Chokmah points this out, saying, is that why you employ abnormalities and ego as well? You direct the librarians to put on the shells of others' egos in order to amplify their unstable emotional state even further. Do I need to remind you that I only have them do that when they receive guests, who also happen to enter voluntarily? She argues back, only to be told. You earnestly desire to escape from the past, yet you struggle to break free, much like me. Chokmah is the only Sephiroth who truly understands Angela and her origins, being the very person who programmed life into her. Angela knows this, but his understanding is the very thing that makes her upset. I'm just using the resources available to me, she responds. Since you were already exploited by Ayan, it's only fair that I get to do the same. Angela continues to avoid responsibility, once again justifying her poor decisions with the argument of fairness, even if that means exploiting the one person who thinks the most fondly of her. He brought you back from death without consent and forced you to endure cycles of pain, she begins to rant. You were nothing more than puppets to him, dancing on the stage as he liked. I was born from more of his irresponsible actions too. How can you accept all of this as if it were nothing, Chokmah? Angela's rage towards her father is immeasurable, and it infuriates her to see someone who knows him so intimately not holding the same amount of anger. However, the way Angela and Hakma process their past trauma is just one of their many differences. It is no longer a matter of whether or not his actions are acceptable, he says in response. I simply chose to accept it. I am not one to judge my mentor's will. Hakma is not excusing Ayan's abuse. He has only chosen to accept and move on from all the scars Ayan had left on him, a stark contrast to Angela's hatred of him fueling nearly every action she takes. That's idiotic. How could you even do that? There's a comparison Angela wants to make, but she hesitates. When Hakma asks about her silence, she doesn't bother to finish her sentence. It was possible because I have faith, Angela. Hakma then speaks for her. That faith is what prompted me to give you a chance. The reason Hakma is so patient with Angela despite everything she's done so far is because he earnestly believes in her doing the right thing. If Hakma was any less wiser, he would have merely shunned Angela for her sabotage and treated her coldly. However, that's not the kind of person he is. He's learned and grown from his past 2 lives, yet has stayed as compassionate as ever towards Angela.
That's why he's the GOAT!
Angela interjects. Both you and Ayan are completely insane. You have to be. This sort of compassion is alien to Angela. She doesn't understand why he still believes in her.
Dude, I love how this game is literally just like a journey for her, like straight up.
Now thoroughly upset,
so
she finishes
good.
The comparison she left unspoken a few sentences ago. You're not the Benjamin I used to know, she says. Benjamin, he was the only person who cared enough to tell me it's okay, even though I'm not human. Although frustrated, she cracks a little. She admits that she, even now, still thinks of Benjamin fondly. This is why their relationship is so unique compared to the other Sephiroth. Hakma, as Benjamin, was the stable father figure she needed. Now, Angela believes Hakma has changed. She sees his belief in her doing the right thing as conditional love. In Angela's eyes, since Hakma isn't as unconditionally supportive of her as Benjamin was, he no longer holds the same love towards her. This isn't quite the case, though. You would be right. The one who stands before you right now is Hakma, not Benjamin. He initially agrees with his daughter's words, but then says, and yet, Angela, I am not so different from Benjamin in that I do not believe your status of humanity is what matters. At this point in the story, Angela has slowly become more and more human. This has led her to believe that once she reaches her status of humanity with the one true book, she will feel complete. Hakma disapproves of this, though. He reminds her that being human isn't the answer to the emptiness she's trying to fill. Human or machine, Hakma will still love Angela based on her character. This vulnerability and openness scares Angela, as she quickly tells him to return to sorting books. Eventually, though, she returns, although unsure how to start the conversation. You're making an appearance here more frequently than I had thought, Hakma starts for her. I don't expect you to enjoy my visits. Angela still doesn't understand if Hakma is upset with her or not. You are free to think whatever pleases you. So, what is your business? There's something I'd like to hear, Hakma, Angela begins. Is it something the director of the library is unaware of? What would that be? I want to tell me what you think of this place. Hakma points out this strange request, unsure why Angela would want to hear such insignificant advice, causing Angela to doubt her question. I won't press you if you don't feel like giving a response. Angela is coming to Hakma for guidance. Having lost her way and becoming more and more unsure of herself, she turns to her other father as the one person she thinks she can control.
A good father.
As seen from my eyes, this is a purgatory. Hakma entertains his daughter's question. The moment the guests sign the invitation and step into this place, they are quantized and copied. It is a preparatory step for their lives to be unraveled in the form of books. Even if they meet their demise here, they do not actually face death in a true sense. Because this is akin to a virtual space where simulations take place, Angela adds. You know it well, he agrees. They merely pass into eternal slumber, forfeiting their memories and knowledge. Hakma reminds Angela that the guests she had turned into books so far aren't gone just yet. They are simply being held as books.
So there's still a chance.
Capable of being let go. This is what Hakma asks her next. Angela, what stops you from letting them go? She's silent as Hakma continues. The fate of the guests' lives has yet to be determined, and I presume it is because you are still hesitating. This question stumps Angela, not even knowing the answer herself. I wonder why I can't let them go, why I hesitate. Our being is made up of the light, including myself. That's why we are unable to leave the library. We simply cannot exist outside of this place. And I want to break this constraint. All of us here could be given a new life, or we could all perish. The outcome will be either one of the two. Angela's fear of having her life of suffering be for nothing has been her main motivation to continue running the library.
And that makes sense.
However, this fear has scared her into believing there are only two outcomes. In her eyes, if she doesn't continue going down this path of pain and bloodshed, she, alongside the other librarians, will disappear forever. Have you ever thought that the weight of the two extremes are too burdensome to bear? Hakma advises, trying to make her understand that these aren't her only two options. I'm not sure. Still, this is the path I chose, so I've decided to see the end of it. Angela is stubborn, locking herself down on this destructive road, believing that change isn't an option at this point. Hakma warns of this mentality. Is there any way to navigate this infinite space without getting lost? He begins to list some questions she may have. Is that book truly what I need? Does it exist at all? In this vast void of life, the only compass one can rely on is faith. Without faith, you cannot proceed, even if there is a way. Hakma is right. Angela can't continue down her path if she isn't even sure of herself. He sees how her once cynical view of the world and the actions she must take is shifting. Every person seeks their own version of the single, perfect book that must exist somewhere, he continues. Is your faith in it still adamant? Angela can't say. You lack certainty, unlike when you first began the journey. Why is that? I don't know. Angela, once again, doesn't know the answer. I'm not even sure if I really know myself anymore. Do you believe it exists, Hakma? She's lost. She still can't wrap her mind around her turbulent emotions, no matter how much she wants to understand herself. When she can't come up with an answer, she asks her other father for one, confiding in him once again. My opinion is not relevant, he simply replies, wanting his daughter to figure out.
Yep, she has to do that. That's her own journey, bro.
Angela, the essence of religion is faith. That one book can exist because of the strong faith that it exists. When that faith crumbles, so too shall the library. It exists because I believe it so? Angela asks, unsure.
Only thing keeping her going, yeah.
Elaborate on faith and what it means to different individuals, then says, things that have lost their reason to exist because people no longer believe in them shall disappear. You, however, remain strong. You believed in Sir Ian just like I did, and even when your faith was betrayed, you sought to start anew on your own 2 feet. Perhaps your wish wasn't limited to freeing yourself. You mayhap wanted all of us, librarians and even abnormalities, to lead their own lives rather than bind themselves to a role on an artificial stage, so that they can live in true independence without putting their lives in the hands of Carmen, Ian, or anyone else. Hakma knows of Angela's real motivations. He knows that in the end, she just wants to free everyone that suffered alongside her, even if her methods of doing so have been controversial. This is the goodness in Angela's heart that Hakma earnestly believes in, which Angela still cannot understand. You're being gracious towards me after all that's happened? It's up to you to interpret it, Hakma simply responds. Ironic, is it not? Sir Ian and I irresponsibly created you and gave you life, and now you are irresponsibly trying to give life into our hands. Angela wants all of the librarians to live. She doesn't want to be left alone. For a moment, though, Angela doesn't believe in Hakma. Say what you want, but you're still going to stop me. At this moment, she's convinced that she'll simply continue going down the same path she is right now. Hakma isn't bothered by this, though. That depends on your decision. Until then, I shall trust you and wait patiently. He makes no judgment, choosing to wait until Angela has actually made her decision. Until she does, Hakma continues to be a father his daughter can rely on and come to for advice. He doesn't let any potential choices Angela may make deter this.
There you go.
This amount of love and vulnerability again scares Angela as she quickly leaves soon after. Once again, though, she returns to him for help, showing just how much she actually trusts him. What story are you hoping to hear from me this time? Hakma, is there anything you know around how the invitation works? Angela asks. Do you expect me to know it, or are you merely wishing to confirm what you think is the answer? He's curious as to why Angela asks him these questions so often, to which she replies with, I may not be all-knowing, but is the same true for you? You two were always so knowledgeable. The purpose of that facility, what needed to be done, you knew everything. Angela is so lost in her journey so far.
Yeah, I'm so glad she had Hakma there. Like that, oh my god.
Better word, that has their shit together. She's visiting Hakma more often because he has always been her voice of reason, someone she can fully trust and confide in.
The guiding light.
Since she was younger. Hakma finds this a little ironic, though. And you said to us that you would not come down to where we were, followed by a remark about how you hope we never have to face each other from now on. I find it rather alien and laughable that you are coming up here only now trying to converse with us. You previously asked me if I had a change of heart, but now I'd like to ask the same to you. His words are very true. He has noticed how much Angela has grown as a person over the course of running the library and wants her to recognize it herself. Unfortunately, Angela isn't ready for this conversation, threatening to leave if Hakuma didn't plan on answering her question. He concedes, choosing to not push her any further. Even though I'm sure you did not have to bother in coming here, I will give you an answer as you wish. There can only be one answer. How is it possible for you to construct an architecture as intricate as the library from nothingness? Is there only one iteration of the perfect book you seek? Will it truly grant freedom? A book is no more than a vessel of the light. Angela is unsure what conclusion Hakuma is leading up to, but he continues. You wish to move onward, but in truth, what you've been doing is simply collecting the light along a course set by someone else. You can make much progress despite having little to no knowledge of the outside world other than bits of secondhand information. That was made possible by the guidance of one person.
I'm about to get interrupted again.
Angela understands his answer, going silent as he continues to elaborate. The invitation is the guiding hand of your original. It is Carmen's auspices that you are under. Assimilated is Carmen's auspices that you are under. Assimilated with the light, Carmen is dictating for where you and your library should head. The invitation is sent to whomever she appoints, guiding them into this purgatory as an inescapable course of events. Angela, you seem to hold utmost faith in the invitation, which is especially peculiar considering that its choices are brimming with Carmen's own interpretations and deductions. You must have noticed this, at least vaguely. Angela is following the selfish path Carmen wants for her. Tempted by Carmen's promise to bring Angela the one book that will give her the fulfillment she craves, she continues to inflict pain and suffering on the city in order
Bro, it's kind of crazy how still, too, even, like, towards the start, when she was explaining how Carmen is, like, she's very, very, like, scarily charismatic. And, like, everyone treats her like a messiah because her words are just so believable. And it's like, it's weird because it's like Angela's Carmen, but at the same time she isn't, and she's still getting like tempted by Carmen's words, you know? Yo, Carmen is the #1 talk no. Listen, bro, talk no jutsu has nothing on Carmen. Carmen is just maxed out charisma stats, and she's overwhelming. That's scary.
Hakuma forces her to recognize this. He wants her to realize that Carmen's temptations aren't the answer to her happiness. She can't rely on someone else to give her worth. This is why he later reminds her, you are a copy of Carmen, yet you can never be the same being as her.
Be better.
Despite Angela being
she already is better.
There's no use in trying to follow every little thing Carmen wants of her. Hakuma wants Angela to grow into her own person, not the person that Carmen has in mind for her. Unfortunately, Angela is afraid of straying from Carmen's path. It's the one thing
that's understandable.
Stable in her time running the library.
That makes sense.
One thing that stays certain in a life she knows nothing about. I want to escape from Carmen's ascendancy, she pleads to Hakuma. But then again, I'll be completely and absolutely alone if she leaves my side. Extremes have been a consistent theme in Angela's fears. She's always afraid of the worst-case scenario, which is why she convinces herself the destructive path she's already taking is better than any alternative. Letting go of Carmen would mean letting go of the one thing that has stayed consistent in her new life. Thankfully, Hakuma is here to convince her otherwise. You may still have certain others willing to keep company with you even after you have shaken off Carmen's grasp. He promises her that there are still others that care for her. When Angela asks who, he simply says, that we do not know. Hakuma doesn't like to make judgments into the future. He knows that the decision for the librarians to stay by her side in the end hinges on what she ultimately chooses to do with the light. This uncertainty sets Angela off. I despise you all so much. I just wanted to erase you all, she snaps. I didn't even want to bring you back in the first place if possible, but that was not an option for me. Because Carmen interfered. She told me not to kill you, to give you another chance. Hakuma doesn't buy this. Angela, do you truly think Carmen is responsible for stopping you? I believe otherwise. It is by your own will that the lives of the librarians and the guests are being retained. Angela doesn't want to take accountability for the mercy she's shown up to this point. She's blaming it on Carmen's will, despite having expressed several times to herself and others that all she wants is freedom for herself and the other librarians. She's terrified of the change taking place in herself, the seed of goodness in her heart finally blooming. After another flashback into her past, Angela expresses this very
That must be so scary. Like, she already doesn't understand herself and like why she exists when she was like full AI robot. And then imagine having the transition into becoming human at the same time. She doesn't know anything about humans or how it is to be. Yo, that's terrifying, dog.
sentiment to Hakma being the most vulnerable she's ever been so far. I'm afraid. If I embrace all my past and lift it off my chest, what will be left of me? Up until now, my entire existence was based on my past sufferings. The long, cherished yearning for revenge was what led me here, but if I were to accept everything I went through as history, then what would I be? Maybe I'll end up being reduced to nothing. The things I want to know, and the reason I want to keep living, it's all about vengeance. I'm scared I might lose the meaning to my life. That's why I'm too afraid to accept the past. Angela's identity has revolved around her trauma. This entire time, she has been drowning in her past, letting it consume every single aspect of her new life. Without it, Angela doesn't know what her identity would even be. She thinks of her trauma as impossible to move on from, that it will stay with her forever.
That's all she
This
knows.
is what scares her the most.
Million
finding
years.
out what person she really is if her suffering is taken away. Hakma knows this struggle all too well, which is why he is ready to help his daughter work through it. You must accept the death of the past and reinvigorate yourself as you head towards the future so that you can live on. No matter what conflicts, agonies, and regrets you may face in that process, you have to grow onward while facing the future and be born again. I had been chained to the past for far too long until this knowledge came to me. You may find yourself confused at the moment, but you will understand soon enough. Although the other librarians wanted Angela to change and grow in some way, Hakma is much more significant given the unique relationship he and Angela hold. Hakma's genuine wish for Angela to accept her past is coming from the love he has held for her across several lives ever since her birth in that research lab. This connection is what allows Angela to be so vulnerable. He's the only person she can consider her family. Even if the two of them have changed over thousands of years, Hakma will always be the only man who treated her younger self with such love and kindness.
Facts.
This is
He's the
evident in how
GOAT.
in times when she is most vulnerable, she refers to him as Benjamin. I resent you, Benjamin, she says after her meltdown. Hakma is understanding of this, but questions their differing motivations. I was the one who ruined your plan. Why are you being so compliant with me now? Angela asks, still confused at the patience Hakma continues to show her. Could it be that our faiths and translations did overlap for once? He explains. The Sephiroth may be helping you despite regaining their memories, perhaps because of that. Angela takes offense to this, not wanting the others to pity her, but Hakma continues. One could call it that. To elaborate on this matter in my own words, I believe each of us is understanding you for different reasons. It helped that we could feel a glimpse of your pain when we were in the light. Don't make me laugh, Angela objects. So it's just pity wrapped in fancy words. Hakma won't let his daughter interpret his words in such a way. Angela, I am of the belief that sympathy and love are no different from each other. At the end of the day, sympathy motivates one to understand the circumstances of others and reach out to them to make their lives better. How can I not acknowledge it as a form of love? You could call love pity, and you could call pity love at the same time. At first, Angela can't even understand the prospect of someone loving her. Hakma's words are true, however, and it means the most coming from someone who loves her as much as he does. He reminds Angela that even she is still worthy of love, despite the mindset imposed on her by her father's abuse. However, he isn't done just yet. And besides, don't you have sympathy yourself, Angela? He continues. You sought at the end of your endeavor to give freedom to all of us who are chained in this cycle. He reminds Angela that she is still capable of good things. She's not as far gone as she thinks, even this far into running the library. She weakly tries to deflect this, however, saying, as much as I still envy and hate you to death, we do share a history of being subject to manipulation. Think of it as a small side benefit I happen to be able to grant. This is a bold-faced lie, and both Angela and Hakma know it. He smiles, saying, you still are awfully dishonest, to which Angela responds with a genuine, thank you. Under the loving and patient guidance of her other father, Angela has discovered a new, kinder side of herself, one that has been kept from showing for far too long. This is why Hakma's floor is the most important in regards to Angela. Not only is he teaching Angela how to accept her past and create a new identity for herself, he is also reminding her of a very simple thing. She is loved. With this, Angela's
I love
interactions
her.
with the librarians come to a close. However, Angela's former subordinates aren't the only ones to give her such a new perspective. The city residents she meets along her journey are equally as important, leading us to the second main storyline Library of Ruina follows.
Be invited. Is there gonna be a message here? I became bitter and untouchable. I craved affection, but even the mere thought of someone caring made my stomach turn. Oof. Jeez. Alright, I'm going to stop it here, and I will be back for part 2 later tonight, because man, my legs hurt from sitting for so long. I feel like stuff is pooling in my freaking legs. This is so good so far, dude. Oh my god, this is amazing. Oh, dude, Jesus. Like, I think I'm going to enjoy the second half a bit more, just because, well, in terms of Library of Ruina, because I personally think that the things that she's learned, just like her interacting with the other Sephiroths is important, but also her interacting with residents of the city is super, super important too. Like, probably more important. I know Hakma basically hard carried the Sephiroths, but like, she needed to interact with other humans. Simple as that. So I think I'm going to enjoy this second half a lot more, because, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have people who are not going to be understanding and caring, obviously. Be like, oh, boo-hoo, you went through this? Well, your light caused my wife to freaking awaken her ego, or manifest, and then she distorted, and then freaking clapped me, or not me, she clapped my friends or something. People aren't going to be sympathetic. They're not going to care. And I think that's what's so important to her character. Running into people who aren't going to care and are going to give her crap, but she has to face that and overcome it. So I'm very, very, very extremely excited to get to the second half. And it sucks that I'm going to have to wait a couple more hours. Well, it's 5 p.m. I'll probably come back to this at like 9 to 10, 10 to 11, when everyone's asleep, so I don't have to get interrupted. Like you guys saw, like there was, what, 5 or 6 times where I had to stop the video because I was about to be interrupted, or I did get interrupted. It sucks. But yeah, I will see you in part 2. It'll just seem like I just paused the video. I'm not going to break this into 2 separate videos. There's going to be one big Angela birthday video. Oh yeah, and before I end it, the main summary from all this so far is screw Ian.